Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
Matters.
Why?
I don't think it matters if you 3-bet the right hands or 4-bet the right hands. What matters is, like, what mood is your opponent in? How much money have they won? How much money have they lost? Is the session ending soon? Are they quitting soon? Are they up money? Are they down money? Like, did they just get shown a bluff? Did they just show a bluff? Like, these things matter. It's not like what you have doesn't actually matter. Like, what matters is, oh, my opponent has one pair. Well, I know this person will not put in more than $100,000 with one pair. That's their threshold. Or I know this person was not going to believe me. They're down 200K. They're in a bad mood. They're not going to fucking fold a pair. We're not going to try to run it on them. That's the stuff that matters. And that's why, like, when I play, like, my cards often, like, don't match the board or don't ever, like, look like cards you should be playing. But it's because, like, it doesn't matter. Like,
all right, welcome to the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nik Vertucci, and I am here. Do I even have to say who? Nik Airball. And we got my lovely co-host, Valerie Brill. She is zooming in straight out of Compton. And we're just going to have some fun today and just get right into it. You cool with that?
let's do it.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about, like I was just telling you a minute ago, I have some sections I want to go through. This section, first of all, let me ask you, how are you feeling?
Good.
You really are?
Yeah.
No bullshit.
I mean, I'm a little tired. Played till 4 a.m. last night, maybe.
Was it?
Yeah. And
I was worried you weren't going to be here on time.
I show up. When I say
Okay.
I'll show up.
So now listen, we're here on Saturday the 13th, and you played yesterday in one of the most, we're going to get to that later, one of the most sickest games we've had in a long time. We'll get to that later in the section. And you played till 4:30 in the morning. Now, tomorrow, the 14th, is when this will be out Monday. Okay. So just so the listeners and the watchers can all understand what we're doing here. All right. First thing I want to just hit you with. You're on a 2.1 million downswing. And now Matt has $1 million of that. Right? Okay. How are you, though, mentally? Because my downswing isn't even close, wasn't ever even close to what you are. How are you mentally? And be honest, how are you financially?
Okay, so mentally, I'd say probably lost some amount of confidence in my poker game. Mm-hmm. But I think that's pretty normal. Like, every time I downswing, like, I lose a little confidence. Like, you know, you just have to, like, kind of re-find it in you, like, whether or not you have it in big spots and, like, whatever. So I've been working on that. And then, but other than that, like, I feel good mentally. Like, you know, it's part of the game. I understand the swings, and, like, the style I play is incredibly swingy as well.
Yeah.
Just, like, going for big bluffs and, like, whatever, like, can be very swingy.
Yeah. Is it harder to go for big bluffs when you're in a downswing?
Yes and no. It's harder in the sense that, like, you feel like it's not going to work as often. Like, oh, I'm just going to get snapped off again.
Yeah.
But it's easier in the sense that you're like, I'm already down 2 million. What's another couple 100,000?
That's right.
And so, like, that's, like, the truth, you know, in my opinion. At least that's how I see it. And then in terms of financially, like, yeah, losing 2.1 million hurts or whatever, but it's fine. Like, I'm fine financially. As people can see from the game last night, there are very good games in LA that play very big, and losing $2 million is not that big of a deal.
Well, it's a big of a deal to some people, but I get what you're saying. In your situation,
I mean, like, relative to the games I'm
totally.
playing and stuff.
And I'm going to dig more into that in a minute, but I want to go back to my lovely co-host and see if she has anything on that.
Well, I'm just curious, specifically with this downswing, because we've seen $1 million of it be like so high profile. I'm curious if this, like, in your current state, is this giving you more fuel to your fire and making you more hungry for the game? Or are you feeling a little down in the dumps right now because of all of it?
That's a good question. I think, like, in terms of poker, like, I still just want to play every day. Like, I guess when I go through, like, big downswings, because I've gone through, like, 7-figure downswings before, I have, like, two sides to me. One side is, like, I need a break. Like, give me a couple weeks. I don't want to think about poker. I don't want to talk about poker. I'll go to YouTube and unsubscribe from all the channels, like, delete my Instagram so I don't see anything. Like, I'll just try to, like, get off of it for a few weeks and, like, reset. So that's happened. But then also there's the other side, which is I want to play every day. Like, every day. I just want to find a game and play every day until I'm out of the downswing. And that's kind of how I am right now. And, like, so I played Wednesday, lost, played Thursday, lost, played Friday, won, and now I'll play today. So we'll see. And then, you know, tomorrow, Mother's Day, I'm sure there'll be a game somewhere. So we'll figure it out.
You'll be sitting there with 8 mothers.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as there's a game. But, you know, it's hard. You definitely lose some amount of confidence in yourself. Like, and your ability to win. And the biggest thing is, I'm sure everyone can relate to this. I'm sure you can relate to this. You just feel cursed.
Yeah.
Like, you just feel like you can't win. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just like, how am I going to get cooler this hand? How am I going to find a way to lose this pot? Like, it's just like, you just feel cursed. And so there's definitely like some of that I'm dealing with, but also like, you know, part of the game, and there's plenty of opportunity to win the money back, and so I try not to worry about it too much.
Well, it's really true too, because you know, when you are on a downswing, just like you said, you feel cursed, and you literally may have the nuts on the flop, and you're like, I just wonder how I'm going to lose this one. It's really seriously how you feel, and it's a shitty
100%.
feeling. And my next question, you answered it, and Val asked it, but how do you stay positive and keep your confidence, or do you just fake it, or how do you do it? That might even be something I want to know for me.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would say, like, on stream, definitely fake it to some extent. Like,
Okay.
I'm good, let's go, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'd say, like, in the private games and stuff, like, a little bit more just, like, you know, subdued. And, like, I would just say overall, like, I'm much more aware of how I feel right now. Like, I'm aware that I have less confidence in my game.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of how that affects my game. And so then I'm just trying to be, like, basically, like, I mean, I think the way lack of confidence affects anyone's game is it makes you more passive.
Totally.
Like, you're just not going to take the close spots. You're not going to, like, find the hero calls. Like yesterday, Dave bluffed me in a hand, like, that, like, probably if I'm not on a huge downswing, I just snap him off.
You had jacks.
Yeah. Like, sick bluff. Super tilting to watch that back. Like, super tilting. But, I mean.
Well, there was a straight out there. There was a flush draw is what he was on. But still.
No, yeah. I just mean, like, the fact that he had the worst hand, I made the wrong decision is super tilting.
Of course.
You know? And, like, there are definitely, like aspects of the lack of confidence that seep into your game, but for me, like, I just try to, like, fake it kind of, and, like, also just, like, be aware of it. Like, I know, like you look down at, like, a hand that you would usually 4-bet, right? Because you're confident in your game. You're like, I know these guys, like, let's go, let's play big pot, right? And then in the moment I look down, I'm just like, I guess I'll just fold. And I know when I do that, I'm like, this is a spot where I'm not feeling it as much lately. Like, I'm a little bit less confident. Like, there were a couple times yesterday where I looked down at, like Queen 5 suited or King Deuce suited, and it had gone open 3-bet, and I was like, this is always, like, 4-bet time, baby. Like, this is always 4-bet time. And, like, it was just, like, spots that I would take 100% of the time usually, but, like, yesterday I was like, I'll just fold. And then afterwards I was like, I can feel, like, that I'm not as, like, confident. And, like, my goal right now is, like, to get my confidence back, book some wins, and not about the money, but just, like remind myself that I'm capable of winning, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, last night, like, I managed to win, and that felt amazing. Like, I was like, wow, I can actually win.
Right.
Like, it's possible, and that was good.
Well, and this is not about me. I'll only say this. I absolutely 100% know what that feeling is, and I've been in that same spot where I'm looking and I go, here's what I normally do. Fuck it. I'm not going to do it. And it's because I don't think I can win.
Yep.
And then that causes you to not win.
Yeah, and, like, there's other things, too. It's, like exactly what you said. Like, I looked down at the cards. I'm like, I always 4-bet this hand, or always 3-bet, or always 5-bet, or whatever, right? And then you hesitate because of that lack of confidence. And then you should still do it. And you know you're being, like, dumb. But then you feel like you've given away something in your hesitation. And so you fold. Like, that happened to me a lot. Like,
you almost feel like they could read your mind, like you're, like, not scared or reluctant or just hesitant.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You feel like they can
feel like they know it, and you're like, okay, fuck it.
Yeah, and, like, you just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And, like, getting, like, for me personally, especially, like, the way I play, like, being fearless is incredibly important. And, like, so, like, when I have less confidence because of, like, you know, getting crushed lately, it's not necessarily, like, I'm now fearful because of the money. It's just I'm fearful because I'm tired of, like, getting my ass, like, handed to me, and, like, it just, like, smashed in my face every hand when I do something, you know? Yeah. So, like, getting the confidence back, I think, is, like, important and takes time. But I also think it's, like, probably, like, a net positive to lose a little bit of confidence, because, like, sometimes I can be overconfident in my play and, like, take too many spots, and, like, that can cause me to torch, like, you know, 750 on a Friday or whatever, and, like, go a little bit too insane.
Well, what's crazy about this conversation is we just what you were just saying went like 40 bullet points down in my notes. So
Sorry.
No, it's good. So I'm going to hit it now so I don't repeat later. So that was my question. Do you think when you are running good, because we all know when we're running really, really good, not only like our confidence goes up to a point where we just think we're unbeatable, like Man of Steel, right? Did you get cocky?
Of course, yeah.
You got cocky.
I mean, of course, but I also think it's, like, important for me to be some amount cocky. Like,
Yeah.
Just going back to what I was saying about like how I play, like if I give my opponents too much respect in my head, I can't be that aggressive. I can't be that fearless. But like if I'm just like, these guys are bums, they can't fucking hang with me, like they can't handle the pressure, like they don't want it like as bad as I do, then I can like go insane and like find the last bet. And like, because like one thing I pride myself in personally is like I feel like a lot of people will like, they'll 3-bet pre-flop, they'll bet the flop, they'll bet the turn, and then they'll just give up on the river because they're like, I got called twice, like there's no more like cards, like you give up.
They don't have the heart.
Man, I put the fucking river bet in every time. Like I don't show down bad hands on the river. I put the river bet in, and like win or lose, I die on that sword of like putting the bet in. And sometimes it prints. Like if you go bet and they fold in the river, you just print money for what it's worth.
Of course.
And then sometimes it fucking hurts when you just put the last bet in and they call you and you're like, obviously they were gonna call. Like, so I think like that's a huge factor.
Yeah, and I think we saw some of that. Excuse me, Val, you got anything on that? Because I have a point on that, but I'll wait.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll ask after.
I think I started seeing some of that as your downswing started a little before this, but you did that in the Rampage game, and he clipped you off a couple times where it should have worked, right, to your point, and then it didn't. And again, that was like right in like the beginning or midst of your downswing, and that just is like to the point of like how that goes when you're in that spot, right?
Yeah, I mean that day in particular, like even now when I think about it, I actually think like all my plays are pretty good.
They were good. Like he should have folded. Like
everyone should have folded
in a real world.
Yeah, everyone. Bill Klein, Stanley Choi, they all should have folded. Like I had good reads. Like fuck everyone. Like I had really good reads. Like I knew they didn't have big hands. Like no one ever even had top pair against me. They always had second pair.
Right.
Like I was right. I just had the wrong read on myself, which is that like everyone knew I was like unraveling that day.
That's right.
Like they just didn't like have to worry about it. They just had to close their eyes and say call. I mean, like it's a little bit like last night with Brad. Like you kind of just know you have to close your eyes and say call in some spots because this guy is like super action. He's super sick, right? So like if he's capable of calling off 80,000 with 3-4 pre-flop, like you kind of have to get in there, right? Like there was one hand where he jammed like 120K and Mariano folded king queen. And I was just like whoa. Like
I honestly think he could be the all-time sickest I've ever seen.
Yeah,
even over Alan Keating and some of these other guys that are nuts.
He's probably the sickest we can get on stream.
Yeah. Will he be back?
He said he would be very interested in playing 501K PLO. Brad's a PLO player. And so I've talked to Ryan about this actually because I've been playing some PLO with Brad for a while now. And I've told Ryan, I'm like, there's the sickest guy ever, Bad Brad, BB. And if we can get him, like, trust me, he, like, makes everyone else look like little puppies. And Ryan's like, haha, no. And I was like, trust me, ask Charles. And Charles was like, yes, Ryan, like, we need this guy. But he'll only play PLO. So Ryan said if we ever want to do a 501,000 no-cap PLO, he'll do that with Brad. And
that would be worth it.
Yesterday, Brad said he'll come back for that.
He won't come back for Hold'em, you
don't think?
No,
he'll come. Like Charles said, he'll try to get him to come. Like he really likes Charles and Bobo. Like they're close friends and stuff. And so Charles is gonna come. But the thing is, like, for Brad, like, Brad is special, and he deserves really good lineups, and like he deserves a lot of good action. And like, I think like it's just also like guys like Brad like are just like super action players are hard to pin down. Like everyone wants him to come play. Like, you know, like there's a lot of games for him to choose from. And so I don't think like for a lot of people, like the stream is really cool and like we like being on stream and we're happy with it. But for some people like, you know, perhaps Brad or other like super action players or successful businessmen or whatever, like being on stream isn't necessarily like good for them. And so they're just not going to do it as often or whatever. And so I think like, do I think Brad will be back? Yes. Do I think he'll be like frequent on the show? No. But I think he'll be back.
What if he comes back a lot and we give him equity in the company? I'm just kidding. Okay, Valerie, what do you got?
No, it's just like, it's, yeah, right?
When do I get my 1%?
Yeah, me too. Nick, get in line. I've been in that line for a few weeks now.
Well, for the record, when they were starting the show, I texted Ryan and I was like, can I invest?
When we first started, yes.
But like before they even started the show.
I remember.
When Ryan was like, when I knew they were like going to do a new show, I texted Ryan. I was like, just tell me an amount. I'll invest.
He told me.
Fuckers.
Yeah.
You missed out. Now here you are. You got to wait to get your name in the lineup.
Like I always do on that one.
Oh, these guys are too tight.
What do you got there, Vuri?
You know, Airball, like it's so meta to hear you say like I had the wrong read on myself. It kind of makes me think that you're you're this character, or you were initially playing a character and then you kind of became this like poker villain. And I think you're a fun villain. I think we kind of need them because like no one wants to watch like three quiet GTO happy, like perfect guys. Like we want a little bit of a dynamic structure in our poker games. But like, I'm curious how you would rate as a fan of poker and you looking back at yourself over this like heads up challenge and like some of the stuff you've done on Hustler. How would you rate your performance out of 10 being a fan of poker if you're looking at yourself?
10. Like, I just don't know how
10?
anyone could not say 10. Like, I come, I talk, I give all the action in like crazy spots. Like, I bluff like an insane amount. Like, I go for the throat. Like, I make it entertaining. Like, to me, I think like these are all like, I don't know, like the way I handle it, and this is like, Ryan, we could tell you this, and perhaps Ryan and Nick have had this conversation, but like, I play and am on stream trying to entertain and like trying to do what I think entertain me as a fan in poker coming up. Like when I used to watch Live at the Bike and stuff, because that's how I got into poker really. Like, what did I want more of? Like the craziness, the sickness, the huge bluffs. Like, I wanted to hear them talk. Like these are things that I wanted. Like I wanted to see sick action. I wanted to hear the table talk. Like that's what I wanted. And so that's kind of like what I try to do is like provide what I would have wanted as like a kid watching poker. And so in that sense, like I think it's a 10. But obviously, like at times I do think like I can get a little too crazy. But it's kind of like it's a fine line, I guess I would say.
Were you surprised or like, do you have any regrets? Were you surprised at the reaction that some people had to the way you were on high stakes poker, or just like the feud in general? Like, I kind of got it. Like, I kind of saw that you were like really needling, but a lot of people thought it was over the line. Some of the things you apologized for. Like, I'm curious, like how you felt about that part, or if you had any regrets about that, the negative parts that you saw.
Sure. So I guess I'll go with high stakes poker, then we can talk about like the MATT negativity. But
we'll get to the MATT in just a few minutes.
Okay.
We've got a whole section on them, but that's perfect. Okay,
so then I'll talk about the high stakes poker stuff. So I mean, a couple things. One, like super cool to play on high stakes poker. Like super cool.
Right.
Like seeing the set and stuff. Whoa, it's cool. And like, no offense to Hustler, but that's like a TV set, Nick. Like that's like a fucking movie set. Like,
yeah. No offense taken.
We need to upgrade our shit. Like. Literally, like you look up and it's just like camera.
Are you talking about the whole space or the cameras?
Like everything. It's just insane.
Well, the thing is it's the space.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that kind of.
You know how much money they told me?
Airball. That's the same place we used to record Poker After Dark, and I used to work in that studio.
The original Poker After Dark.
No, not the last like three seasons.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, not the original. I think was like at South Point or not at South Point, at like Golden Nugget or something. But yeah, the last like 3 or 4 seasons were filmed at that studio. So that studio is amazing. I agree with you.
You know what they told me?
What?
It cost them $60,000 per day that they filmed there.
Yeah, from what I understand, this is not me knowing it for sure. What I understand is the investor behind all that is so deep pocketed that they're just
Oh, I'm pretty sure we all know who it is. I mean, it's open. It's Carrie Katz.
Yeah.
It's not like a secret or anything.
No, and so
he just loves poker.
He just loves it. It's like a passion project.
It's kind of like you with Hustler, like in the sense that like he's built himself a place to play when he wants to play.
It's exactly right. Yeah. So it's like that, and it's amazing. There's no offense to that. Like I've been in there for the awards, different things. It's insane.
Yeah. Sure. So anyways, back to your question. Like, very excited to play. Very cool that I got the chance. The negativity, it kind of sucked. I think it's funny, like all these people like complaining about it, but then like it's the highest viewed show on Poker Go ever. So like you clearly all tuned in.
Well, you know what it is, Nick? It's like this. The ones that complain and the ones that troll and the ones, that do that type of stuff that are that way, they're mostly the minority. Not all, but mostly. And those are the ones that are the most loud. Vocal. And so, believe me, like everyone was glued to that. And sure, there was some cringe moments in there. There was some out of line moments that, I even talked about it. I'm like, dude, if you could have just kept that vibe where you just pushed the chips. Like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
But when you started chugging the wine and you went berserk, but even still, it's the most it was insane. So even still, you could still make a case for whatever. It's fine, right?
And like,
Nick, Airball doesn't drink. Let's just keep that straight. He doesn't
Although
drink.
he's not really drinking.
bro, listen, you know what it was? I'll tell you guys. I don't drink, but it was my first time playing with JRB.
You don't drink. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't drink. This was my first
Dude,
time.
I love it. I don't drink.
I don't drink. But it was my first time playing with JRB, and like, it's JRB. Like, the guy's a legend, like, for drinking wine. Like,
Yeah.
And then he's like, he got some wine for us, and I was like, I'm gonna drink this fucking wine and get drunk for JRB.
Yeah.
And I did.
And you can't do shots.
Yes, you can.
Okay, you have to enjoy the wine. No,
Okay,
it's
well,
not for like.
I'll tell you what,
gulping.
Veronica. In the second half of last night's episode, you'll see Charles taking shots of wine.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah.
I heard that you were like gulping down like a $200 bottle of wine. Airball, what are you doing?
Who knows? But sometimes you just gotta drink, like you got. I mean, I don't drink, but like, I've heard. So I mean, yeah. And then in terms of like the negative response, kind of hurtful, not my favorite, but also like whatever. I was a little bit irritated with like some of the commentary that I felt like was a little bit rude, and then I was like, I don't know, just a couple of things like Poker Go did kind of upset me, but because I kind of feel like they wanted a shit show, like that's what they wanted.
Of course. Why would you put that lineup together?
Right. They designed it for that, but then they kind of like didn't support it or something. I don't know. It just,
hey, look, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I like Poker Go, and so does Veronica. No beefs. Those guys are great. Love those guys.
Agreed.
What give us specifics on the commentary and give us specifics on what you think like the kind of setup was.
Yeah, just like a couple times. Like, so like I'm like or at least, well, Nick Schulman's like a legend, right? And
Totally.
like sicko and like fun to watch, fun to listen to, and like I don't know, just a couple. I haven't watched it or anything, so I haven't actually heard it, but I just like read some of the quotes, and they were just like not. Now I don't know if it was said in jest or sarcasm or
Yeah, you
like,
need to hear the tone.
Right, but like just reading them, like it wasn't my favorite thing that was like said.
Like what?
Like he's like, oh, this is one of the most grotesque things I've ever seen, or something like that. Like,
While you drinking the wine?
yeah, like it's not like not funny, but like it's just a little bit like I don't know.
Yeah.
And like.
But let me ask you, if the way you were acting and like you have probably one of the best senses of humor, because I've even needled you on Twitter and like you're cool. Why wouldn't you take that in jest?
I guess there's like, so I guess part of it is like I know you have like a relationship with Nick, and thus like I kind of see you as someone who's on our side in general. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter, but like that's kind of how I see you as like someone who like is in my circle. And so like when you're needling me or whatever, like I it's very easy for me to be like, oh, this is like we're having fun, right? Mm-hmm. Now in terms of like random people like talking shit, needling, same thing usually. Like I don't really mind. I guess it's just bothered me a little bit because like I looked up to Nick, and like it's like a fan, and then also just like I feel like the commentators and like people who are part of the show have like a different responsibility not to kind of do that shit. Like I just don't think it's cool for like a commentator who's like commentating on a game, like for example like last night, like if Tuckman just starts like spewing crazy shit about like Bad Brad being horrible at poker, like that's not cool. Like
Yeah. There's no question. As a stream commentator, you have a tough job. You have to lay off when the table's talking. You have to try to find a way around what you know about poker, but still commentate in a respectful way. Because if you were to tell the truth most of the time, it'd be like, oh, what's going on here? Like,
right.
So it is a tough job. And I do agree with you that if we ever had a commentator that would go in there and was just ripping ass on people, they wouldn't commentate anymore,
right.
because people don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, and so I mean, obviously, like I'm not like too bothered about it, but just like a little bit not super happy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of like distaste or whatever, or like bad taste in my mouth. But at the same time, like I don't know. I feel personally like the way I see that show, and this is probably me being egotistical, but I guess I'll just give my honest take anyways, is I feel like I made that show. Like, I mean, like
you were the key component to what they were trying to go for.
And like I'm like, unlike Doug and Daniel and shit, like I'm real. Like I'm not like gonna pretend to have beef with you online and then be like, hey buddy, like let's be friends. Like I keep that same energy in person, like when I saw Matt, like it's still not friendly, like like it was real. Like when I grabbed the chips, like that's fucking real. Like those are my fucking chips. Like that's the show, right? That's what we want. And like like I don't know. I mean, I bluffed Rob Young 100,000 on the river. I don't see anyone else in that entire episode running any big bluffs. Like no one else ran a big bluff the whole episode, right? Like, I don't know. So I feel like, I don't know. I just feel some type of way.
Well, you know what my only feedback would be, and I hope it's taken well. I don't mean it any real bad, but it's just something I thought, and it was frustrating to watch, is you guys had so much table talk. The stuff that they were looking for, the stuff that this is why they put it together, and they were talking over it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh shit, shut up. Let me, I'm trying to like get closer to my phone to hear you guys, and everyone else was like beefing too. So I think that was the one pushback I had was like, man, you guys got gold here. Zip it until there's a break, because that's what was, like you said, that's why you watched shows.
Yeah, and the table talk was fucking hilarious.
It was sick,
Like, it was so sick. Like, I don't know, that was a surreal lineup for table talk if you think about it. Like, Doug talks a lot, I talk a lot, Eric talks a lot, Rob Young talks a lot, Jennifer Tilley's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
The only one who doesn't talk is Matt. Like, JRB talks a lot. Like, that's a sick table for table talk.
Yeah.
Like, sick.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. I don't know. It was a good experience. Well, the stream was a good experience. After the stream, I'll tell everyone what happened.
Tell us.
So I was up like 100K. Then I lose with aces to JRB, sixes. I'm on tilt. Torch another like 75,000 last hand, right? And I'm stuck like, I don't know, $1.50 or something. Annoyed. So I take my, I have like, I don't know, 800,000 or something in chips. And, I tell them, deal with them. I'm going to go eat. So I go eat with JRB and Ishan, and I continue to drink wine. Why not? And I'm
because you don't drink, so this is like a special.
I mean, occasion. Well, if I was drinking there, like I would have continued to drink wine,
right.
And so I was like much more. I was actually drunk now, and I was still on fucking rage tilt. Like I was trying to get off tilt at dinner, but I was still on rage tilt. So I go to Ivy's room to get my chips that they should have like deposited at Poker Go. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but my chips were just a puddle at the end. Like they were just spewed. So I had no idea how much I lost. I just knew I lost, and I was on tilt and just like stormed out of there to go get dinner. Like that's what would happen. Like the game ended, and I was just like, "Fuck!" Like no one wants to play. I'm leaving, and I just walked out of there. And I was like, "Someone will deal with my chips. Like someone will deal with the 800K." So I go to Ivy's room, and there's a game going on in there, a very big game. Alan Keating's game is going, and I'm a little bit on tilt. So I'm like, "Anyone want to flip for 100K?" So one of the players is like, yeah, I'll do it.
Who was it?
Hanks.
Okay.
And we flipped for 100K, obviously.
Brent Hanks?
No.
Not Brent Hanks.
No, not Brent.
Hank. Or I don't know what the other guy. Hank.
It's Keating's friend. He's played on our show.
He's a sicko.
He just goes by Hanks.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a sicko. Yeah. We flip for 100K, I lose. Flip for 100K again, I lose.
Wow.
And then I'm like, again, and he was like, this is getting out of control, let's stop. And so then I was on rage tilt, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, yeah, like let's be done. So then I go to Baccarat, and I just max bet 20K a hand for like an hour while screaming at the floor to increase my limit to 100K a hand.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I was super on one. Luckily at Baccarat we ended up winning small, so that was good. But yeah, I was on.
Does Sean ever like tell you stop?
The whole time, yeah. He was
the whole time, but you won't listen.
Yeah, he's like, when I'm flipping for the 100K, he's like, Nick, can we not do this? I'm like, let me do it once. I lose. I'm like, I'm doing another one. He's like, but he like gets it. Like Ishan is like,
yeah,
he's like a little bit older than me, but he gets it. Like
of
he's gone through like the phase of degeneracy that I'm probably more in than he is right now.
Yeah, right.
And so he gets like my like desire to gamble, And so he's like kind of like he's trying to tell me, and then like when I'm going to Baccarat, he's like, Nick, let's not play Baccarat. Like, but he also like can't stop me. You know what I mean?
Of
like
course.
We're adults, right?
Yeah.
And like we get there, and the whole time like he's like, as I'm winning, like he'll grab the chips and like put them in his pocket. So like he's trying to like mitigate my losses. Like no, he is.
I
like,
know.
It's really,
I figured he should be, right?
Super fucking good. Like
Yeah.
if I didn't have Ishan like with me in some of these spots, I might have torched like $1 million in this spot because
Right.
like to some extent, like as I'm getting like more and more steamed or whatever, like that day, like I'm playing Baccarat, he's like calls the Uber. He's like, we gotta go. Uber's here. Like we have to leave now. Like the Uber's here.
Right.
Like they're gonna charge me a fee if we don't go. And then I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want them. Like, not that it matters, but like in my head, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
you don't want to. No one wants to pay the $20 fee. You're down
it's like
$80
$5.
million.
It's like
Yeah,
$5. I'm like, I don't want you Sean to pay a $5 fee. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like literally, like that's like these are the kind of things like that like good friends do, like to help you like from when you're in like tilted or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so like I'm also like I have different gears. Like I have some gears where I'm very risk averse to gambling. Like I don't want to play any table games or whatever. Like I just want to chill. and I have the gear that's just like max gamble, like Super Bowl weekend, like playing like blackjack, like with some high rollers, like I was betting like 10K a hand, like just like whatever, like let's do it. And then like the next week I'm like, I don't even want to bet $100 a hand, like I don't want to play.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, and I just don't feel like it. Like I just don't want to deal with the emotional swing.
Yeah.
And then like there's like, you know, after that poker go and I'm drunk and I'm like, I want to bet 100,000 a hand. Like I'll bet 500,000 a hand if they'll let me. Like I'm ready to gamble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just interesting.
Nick, and then Val, you go next. But I just have to ask this question because it's the perfect question after what you just said. And I want you to be honest.
Always.
Okay? Like really be honest.
Always.
No flex. Are you ever worried that if this continues like a downswing, is there a worry or a number that it will take for you to be pretty much crippled? And if you're willing to, what is that number?
So no, I'm not worried. There is a number obviously that like I would like my net worth. If I lost my net worth, I'd be broke, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm not worried because of a couple of factors. Like I have like a really good support system around me that keeps me in check. Like I'm not actually like torching as much as people think. Like I'm just on a downswing. And like I also am very lucky that there's a lot of very, very wealthy people in my circle who have like a lot of faith and belief in me. And so like in terms of poker, if I ever were to like go busto, I get staked very easily.
That's true.
Like I mean like as it is, I get people texting me every week asking like if they can buy pieces of me, if they can stake me or whatever. Like, I mean, I guess part of it's like, I'm not saying I'm super good or anything, but like, it's probably just because I have like the ability to play in very good games. And like, you know, that's like.
Would it be under 10 million or over? Like if it's
over
would be where you start getting
over
concerned?
would start to hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. It would start to worry you, right?
Over, I'd be like, maybe like poker is like a little bit not my thing. Like, but like, you know, 2 million hurts. Don't get me wrong. Like it hurts.
Yeah, of course.
It hurts. Like it hurts. It's $2 million. It fucking hurts. It's not fun. It doesn't matter how much you have. And it hurts in the way that it's happened. Just like getting my face punched in, like the day I lost 730, like the heads up challenge. Like these are like, it's just been like kind of like a face punching kind of downswing.
Yeah, some big right hooks.
Yeah, and it hurts. And it hurts financially. It hurts emotionally, but like it's not like any like crisis or anything like that. It's just, you know, it just hurts.
Yeah. Vicky, what do you got before I ask the next question?
Yeah, I kind of want to stay on the high stakes cash game because I think the internet lost their minds over it. And, you know, I'm a fan of poker. I don't want to watch 7 or 8 MATT BERKEYs play because it would be incredibly boring. You did make the show fun. I thought some things were out of line, but that's okay. Like I'm a fan. It doesn't mean I hate you for it. I'm curious because the internet kind of lost their mind with the ending with Lynn and how like Lynn got up and they over dramatized it. I didn't think it was that bad, but a lot of people did. Like, was there something, was she mad at you at the end of that night? Are you guys cool? Like, can you explain that ending?
What happened,
you know what I'm talking about?
What happened at the end?
When you were like, you're staying and you're getting in the Uber with me. And she's like, no, I'm leaving at 10:30. And like, she got
You're
up
like,
and
no,
like,
I'm your boss. I'll tell you what to do.
MATT,
That's
MATT
hilarious.
BERKEY like
I tell her that all the
slowed down.
time. I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
MATT BERKEY like broke down the video and was like, I know Lynn's like super upset. I know Lynn. And I'm like, did you guys get into a fight? Are you guys upset? Was that even a thing?
I don't even remember that.
I love the look on your
So
face.
here's the question.
So tell me what happened.
Here's what she's saying. Are you and Len like the next few minutes, the next day, the next hour? You're just the same. Good. No, there's no problem.
Lynn G?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, people thought we had a fight on there?
That's what. Okay, so let me.
I don't even remember that.
Let me do my thing where I preface and I do the whole thing. Let me ask you this, but don't. Okay. The question really is because at the end of it, you were drunk as a skunk, and you
getting drunk.
No, he doesn't drink. He doesn't drink. He
Okay,
doesn't drink.
if you were
He was
drinking,
sober,
you would have been drunk. And so you said something like, "Well, we're gonna play more, Lynn. You're gonna play," and she's like, "No, I'm done." And you're like, "No, you're not. You're staying." And you guys went back and forth. She's like, and you're like, "I'm your boss. You're staying. You don't have a say." And she didn't. She looked serious enough to say, "No, you don't tell me what to do." So Matt, like Veronica said, went on his thing and he broke down that whole segment. And he's basically like, "I know her. She's really upset. Like these guys, like they're whatever." And you don't even remember it because there is no fallout.
No, we didn't talk about it. And I am Lynn's boss. I tell her that all the time. What are you talking about? Lynn works for Henry. I was at the hill with Henry on Wednesday, and I was like, Henry, how does it feel to know that your employee works more for me than for you? And he was like, fuck you, Nick. And I was like, that's my employee. No.
Yeah.
Me and Lynn are all good. I love Lynn. Lynn, obviously, she helped me a lot with stuff for the Heads Up Challenge, so she probably owes me $1 million for that. And then because like I lost because of her, obviously, and then
Totally.
you know, we're also doing the content together, and so yeah, we have a great relationship. I really like Lynn. I think Lynn gets like a lot of unnecessary flack. You know, some like she warrants because she gets emotional and like whatever, and like maybe not the best sometimes on Twitter, but overall Lynn is like pretty pure-hearted, I think, and like
I can relate.
and she's done like she's done a lot of like out of her way things for me. Also like been very like kind friend as through the heads up challenge. Like, you know, there were some very like low moments. Like it's like, you know, like just some of the days where I got whacked, like it was just like frustrating, and like I'm just like, oh, after, and like she was a very good friend to me, and so no, like there's no issues with Lynn, or all good. She's in New York right now.
Vertucci, you and Lynn are exactly the same way on Twitter. When you posted your nudes, people got mad at you too.
Yeah, just
Nick.
a couple of bitches. You know. Yep. Couple of emotional bitches.
Why would you?
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, there is a lot of truth to that, you know, besides the nudes, because that would be bad. But no, there is some truth to that, because I do knee-jerk a thing, and then I see her do that, and then I see her go, oh, I'm done with the toxicity. I'm going off, and then I see another snarky thing. So I get that, because I have that same kind of knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah,
right?
I guess I'd say I feel a little bit responsible for some of the shit she took on Twitter in the last month, because I think a lot of the reason she was getting involved in the Twitter spats was because of me.
Of course.
Like, she was defending me, and like, because I wasn't on Twitter. Like, I don't mind defending myself. Like, I don't mind fucking firing back.
Yeah.
Although I've been working on like not doing that, but I've been like, I don't mind like defending myself. Like, I don't like mind talking shit with people, getting on the spaces and confronting them. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm happy to do it myself. But during the heads up challenge, like, I was making conceited effort to stay off Twitter, stay off socials, like to focus on like improving, and like that was something that like Lynn and Ishan asked me to do. And then I think Lynn knew that. I mean, she knew that I knew that there was like a lot of shit being talked about me, especially as I was losing. And she also knows that I'm like somewhat sensitive and like kind of just like want to stand up for myself or feel stood up for. And so I think in some of those spots, like she was doing it for me. And like obviously like I incredibly appreciate that, but I also feel kind of bad in hindsight, because like I know it like wasn't necessarily good for her mental health. And like I don't want like my friend to like sacrifice their mental health for mine or whatever, but like I appreciate like the sentiment behind it, if that makes sense. So
sure, of course.
Yeah, it's kind of like an interesting thing, and like, you know, we've talked about it since, and just kind of decided like maybe her and Ishan, like, you know, we're the three of us kind of like a little team. Like, you know, we do the content together, and like we're pretty good friends or whatever.
Yeah,
we kind of decided maybe like when it comes to haters and shit, like I'll handle them and let the two of them can just chill, because they're nice people, unlike me.
Struggling to find an all-in-one platform for the latest poker news and thrilling poker stories? Only Poker has got you covered. The platform is packed with exciting poker news, discussions, and games that you won't be able to resist. Share your thoughts with friends on the hottest poker topics in our circle. Discover the best poker games anytime, anywhere, and secure your seat at the table. Find all your poker needs in one place. Download Only Poker and join the best poker community today.
Right, correct.
Well,
yes.
I think there part of the issue was like, and I don't want to talk too much about Lynn because she's not here to, you know, relay her end of the story, but it was tough, I could tell, because she used to date Berkey, right? And so it was a little bit more personal for her. And
for him.
I was there during... Yeah, I was there when they kind of went at it on Twitter Spaces, and I think they may have hashed it out. I don't know, but I think that's where like it got a little weird, because she does have a history with him.
Yeah,
agreed.
So I'm going to ask you two more questions, one at a time, of course, because sometimes I block things together. I'm not going to do that. My first question to you is, and I'm not going to. I know you've talked about this before. I heard you mention this to Ryan. And I'm not going to ask you the numbers, because like you said on the thing with Ryan when you did the pregame, well, this is no one's business. Go, fuck it, I'm going to answer. So you have alluded to the fact that your bankroll that you're working with comes from your job, investments, and poker. Can you put a percentage to what that is?
Yeah, investment, poker, job, probably like 40, 30, 30.
So job 40?
No. Investment's 40.
And then poker?
30. Job 30.
Okay. Okay. Because, a lot of people say if you're a new investment banker, you're starting.
What?
I know.
This is the funny thing. This is the funny thing. I never claimed that I was like making $1 billion a year investment
I know
banking.
that.
I worked at an investment bank. Ryan likes to put up what people do for a living. He put up that I'm an investment banker. Why the fuck am I the villain here? This is the truth. I've worked at an investment bank.
Because this is the world you're in, bro.
I'm just like, I did. I worked for an investment.
Of course you did.
banks.
Oh, I'm not questioning that.
No, I know you know,
Yeah.
but it's just
So,
like
Nick-
I never claimed that it was like $8 million a year.
No, you never did.
I never claimed anything.
But the reason
Nick, you gotta.
Go ahead, honey.
Let me just say this. You gotta understand that, like, for most of us watching, most of us at 25 were probably broke. And
I'm
didn't have
27,
access
Veronica.
Well, I'm sorry. You just look like you're 21. But most of us did not have access to this type of wealth and were able to play these types of games. So it's like really curious to all of us, like, how did he get this money? In what world does this happen? A lot of people can't grasp how you have this much money. And that's where this all comes from.
Yeah, and let me say this too real quick, and that's the exact point, and that's why everyone, like, look, you said it right, and so what I say, it's no one's business. We know that, okay? So don't think because I'm asking the questions that I don't know it's no one's business. I'm asking the questions because we're doing a podcast. This is what the industry's talking about, right? The community, and so we're asking it just so you can answer it for the 20th time, right? And get a little heated, which was amazing because it's enough is enough, right?
I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be like 18 comments like, this guy's fucking lying. He has a trust fund.
Of course they are.
Like, I'm just like, listen.
Of course they are. Look, it's your wife's money. It's your trust fund from your family. Like, it's all out there. And the one thing, and I'll say it, I don't care. I'm not trying to cause controversy, but the content that really like bothered me was the Rob Kuhn stuff. Like, if you remember that, like, I don't care for that. And he really like went hard in the paint about like you being a fraud or use the, terms or whatever. And so that's fine. I mean, he's doing a show and it probably got a lot of clicks, and I've been guilty of that too. But like, nobody knows that. Like, you can't, like, you could assume, but you have to be really clear that you are just talking on the topic because, like Veronica said, it doesn't make sense. And that's cool. But when you go farther than that, like, show the receipts.
Yeah,
Where's your proof, right?
I have all the receipts.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason, the reason Ryan like stands by me and all these things is because he knows the truth. Like,
totally,
nothing's a lie. Like, I work in investment banking.
We both do, but
exactly.
But it's just like
exactly, and like,
but it's like everything, people. Yeah, and even he said it in the pregame. Everyone just wants to know where everyone got it.
Yeah,
and it's none of their business, but they do.
Yeah, and I guess like the part of the reason it tilts me is because like there's like a lot of negative comments around it with me, like, oh, you're lying about working in an investment bank and stuff, and I'm just like, listen, like, I don't really care that much, but also like I'm not like well,
just, we know that.
Like, this, like, no, I know you do. I'm just talking about like generally, like, and it just like at some point I feel like this conversation, and this is not me getting upset at you, it's just like just a general comment. Like,
no, go for it.
It's so belabored. Like, I've been asked this a million times in a million spots, like on podcasts, on Twitter Spaces, on the pregame show, on the shows, like all this stuff, and I've given like real answers, I've given troll answers, and no one ever is happy with the answer. Like, if I say like I won infinite money playing poker, and everyone's like, you're bullshitting. If I say, oh, I did really more investments, they're like, you're not smart enough to invest. If I say, oh, I worked in an investment bank, they're like, well, you were entry level, so you couldn't have made that much money.
Yeah,
it's like,
well, you're never going to be able to win, Nick.
Yeah, and I say I have a trust fund, they're like, no, you don't. My wife's trust fund, no, you don't. Like, pick an answer. Like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I'll just keep saying stuff until someone finally is happy. I won the lottery.
Why don't you come up with eventually, like, give it some time, let it settle down, and then come and do like an announcement and say, I feel like compelled, and just come up with some whack job, something.
That's and
that we're like, it's so whack, they'll probably all believe it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Because who can make that shit up, right?
For sure.
Just a picture of yourself in a cubicle wearing a bow tie, like typing in front of a computer.
I'm an accountant.
I think that'd be good.
I'm an accountant.
Yeah,
I take deposits only.
Yeah, deposits only.
Yeah, what a business. All right, so next one, you've heard this a million times. I've heard you answer, but I haven't heard you answer in depth.
Okay.
And unless you have, I missed it.
Okay, I'll give you in depth.
All right. So, and I want to preface this with a preface of the preface, and that is... Go ahead, do it.
I was waiting for that.
Give me 10 seconds of me on the mic before I do it.
Well, listen here, Airball, and this is how I'm going to ask you. And I know that you're not going to want to hear it this way, but before I ask you, let me say it like this, okay? And I know what you're thinking, and I know how I'm going to say it, and it's going to come across a little like you think that I'm not saying it the way I'm saying it. But let me tell you, I am saying it that way. But before I say it that way, I want to say it like this, and I'm going to ask you a 3-part question. And I'm going to say it like this because I'm going to forget the 3 questions, so I need to tell you the 3 questions. But have you read my book? Because a lot of these concepts are discussed in Having the Balls to Succeed.
I will tell you this right now. That is really better interpretation than me.
I agree.
And I just feel like saying this right now. I miss you. Will you hurry up and get back down here? I fucking legitimately miss you. All right. So we had our moment. You ready? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, and I'm going to preface. You know what's funny? Is the other night I was thinking about questions and how I would ask them. And I stuttered in my head because now I'm so self-conscious of what this fucker does that I literally don't know if I can be a high-level communicator anymore because, I don't know if I can spit it.
You can be an average communicator.
Okay, so I'm going to be average. All right. Oh, God, I had such a joke for that, but I'm staying out of the heat. All right. So I made a truce with Garrett, which we talked on the phone. We did a handshake phone truce. I even was asked about him on a Spaces the other day. All positive stuff. That's buried for me. I don't know if we worked it out, but we agreed. Okay. But I think it's fair that I ask this because it's something that's out there. Can you please one time, and then if you're ever asked again, just refer him to this podcast. So you don't ever have to answer this again. Tell me what happened with your job. What happened with that, specifically, if you want to. I would hope you do because it's very interesting. Everyone keeps talking about it, and then be done with it.
Sure. All right.
How'd I do, Val? Did I keep the dog in the yard?
I don't pay attention. I don't pay attention. Yeah, you kept the dog in the yard. I don't pay attention if it's not a 10-minute preface. I'm not used to this. I feel uncomfortable in a way.
So here's what happened. So I moved back to LA in March of 2022.
From New York,
where I was working at a different investment bank.
Allegedly
working at a different investment bank, a generalist bank. So we did everything. So I moved to a bank in LA that focused on aerospace and defense. So like guns and cool shit, and we're selling defense contractors. It was my dream banking job, and it was such a perfect thing. I come back to LA, all my poker friends are here. I got to start playing on the stream once a week, and if you go and look at my stream history or whatever, I was playing once a week or once every other week for about 6 months.
And very more subdued.
Yeah, much more subdued. I would come every day and work clothes after the stream or because I would leave work and come straight to work. And I was coming to play a little poker, but I had a job, and so I wasn't being too rambunctious.
Yeah, you were on your way to become the DGen you are now. You weren't that.
Yeah. Well, the Jack 4 thing happened, and Garrett published his manifesto on 2+2, which, heavily implied that I was the financial backer of this alleged cheating ring. And he kind of followed it up on Twitter in several spots and essentially called me a cheater. And the poker community is pretty fucking nasty. That's what I can say. And so, when you work at an investment bank and you sell government contracted companies, having one of your it's a small boutique bank, having one of your employees being accused as a cheater,
how did they get that info?
So I'll get there.
Okay.
Is not a look you can have. It's just not a look. And as it is, me playing poker on stream, not their favorite thing ever, but they let me do it. Definitely not their favorite thing ever. But
Yeah,
let me do it.
yeah. It's not becoming of your position.
Right.
Unbecoming. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so people found I have LinkedIn, people have posted on Twitter and stuff, and it's not hard to figure out where I've worked. People just started emailing the info at whatever.
Wow.
And that goes straight to
that's so
the owners
shit.
or whatever. And so it was kind of I had to make a decision on what I valued more and what I wanted to continue to do with my time. And at the time, I was much more enamored with poker than I was with my job. And so I chose to focus or just step away from the job.
Did they give you an ultimatum?
Essentially. And I didn't really talk about this just because I don't like to paint myself as a victim or whatever. I just see it as
we want to know.
Sure, but I just this is kind of why I didn't talk about it. Cause I just don't like to paint it as
Is this the first time you've said it in detail?
Yeah, essentially. Like I mentioned it with the pregame show, but like this is kind of the first time like I really talked about it. Like I don't know, it was
you glossed over it in the pregame.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing to talk about just because like once again like I just don't like to paint myself as a victim like ever because like I feel like I'm a big boy and like whatever shit comes my way it's like my own doing. Like with the Berkey stuff or whatever, like it's like my own choice how like what I've gotten myself into and like whatever comes with that is my choice. So in this one like I felt this is obviously like it's not a fun situation. Like it's not how I wanted to move on from my job. And yeah, it just sucked. That's all I can.
Well, you can tell it was painful because your energy completely shifted when you're talking about this. Like you literally look like there's a ton of pain inside because of what you had to go through and the decision you had to make. I could tell just by how your demeanor is.
Yeah, it sucks. And like, the people at my work aren't in poker. And so this is like their first exposure to poker is like, I'm a cheater.
Shit.
And like, I don't know, just not my favorite. And
when your integrity gets hit, and especially falsely, of course, it's not easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think like it's kind of interesting to me. Like I don't know, a lot of people that talk shit about me on Twitter, like the Rob Kuhn guy and YouTube and stuff, and like they talk shit about me on a personal level. Like even Garrett, like he's made these personal attacks against me, like saying I'm a bad person and continuing to say like I'm a liar, I'm this, I'm that. But like none of these people who have made personal attacks against me and continue to do so actually know me. None.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people who do know me have all publicly stood up and said like, bad read, buddy. Like Nick's a good guy. Yeah. And so like I take a lot of solace in that, like knowing that the people who know me like have my back and like think that I am a good person. Cause like, to be honest, like when me and you were fighting or whatever, like that made me rethink because like when someone who I respect and like has an issue with something I did, I rethink things.
Yeah.
When the internet does or whatever, I just don't give a fuck.
I get it.
And so like, that like the whole personal attacks thing kind of bothers me a lot. And that's kind of why I've said multiple times that like, I'm not going to do that, but like whatever.
Yeah.
And I agree that I was out of line with Berkey on the whole scammer thing, which is why I've apologized.
I'm going to read your apology later.
Yeah, which is why I apologize. And once again, we'll go back to the whole idea that like that was an emotional response. I was upset with like him attacking you and Ryan and Billy and myself and Hustler and like feeling like we were unfairly attacked and like lied about. So that was like an emotional reaction, which wasn't healthy and good. And like, so I guess to some extent, like I sound hypocritical saying like, I don't want to get into the personal attacks, but I'm just being human and being honest with like my intent and what happened and whatever. And so,
Yeah. And, wow. I mean, that's like the first time I heard it. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple of takeaways from what you just said for me. Like number one is, being accused of cheating. And like just to be honest with you, I spent a good amount of time. And I like Garrett. I think that he sincerely thinks he was cheated and he's responding in a way of someone who was cheated. Now, Garrett post Jack 4, that's something different. But I, for a while, because of like how you got wrapped up in all that and lending Rip money and stuff like that, I thought, oh yeah, maybe he's involved too. Like I was very skeptical of like everything. But the one thing that you touched on was, and I was privately that way with people I knew, but the one thing that you touched on was people, trolls online, attacking you personally and like calling your work and like doing vindictive things to like try to ruin you. And like that is so fucking out of line. And that kind of shit is like, you're entitled to your own opinion. You're entitled. Like I changed my mind about all of that. I changed my mind about you, Nick, several times. I think it's really cool how you're growing. I can see your growth. I can see that you are a good person. I think it's cool that you're this character. But like, I think that there's a difference between having a personal opinion and seeing something and like analyzing it and being skeptical and like trying to ruin someone's life and call their job and fuck them up. That is like, especially like it's typically anonymous accounts. I don't know if we want to get into that, Nick. I know that stuff like has really affected you lately, but like it's weird to me how people are able to thrive in social media, especially anonymously, and like try to ruin people. It like really saddens me that people called your work. When I saw you say that, I was just like, it's just too fucking far.
So
like
sick.
who yeah, it really bothers me. I don't
Well,
but
I mean, go ahead.
Actually,
no, that was it. I was just like a comment about that whole situation, and I'm hearing you be vulnerable out of that airball is like really nice.
Yeah, I think that was a really good for you to get that out. Now,
it was kind of cathartic.
yeah, and I will totally. I got a couple points that I want to make. First one is what Veronica just alluded to. I'm not going to get into it, but I will just say it's unfortunate that there are people on this planet and in this poker community that are so toxic, so vile. And I am not going to go any further to say, though, there is one particular person and out there doing this and who has picked up the phone and called some people's work and got them in hot water when that person was the one who was the real start of the toxicity. But that's another story. That's something that can never be fixed or dealt with. That is just something that in this world you have to deal with. Unfortunately, happened to you. And I will say, yeah, you and I had our thing. Not that big of a deal, but as of recently, after you went through this, and especially after Poker Go, I had said to you in a conversation, I said, okay, Nick, listen, nobody, your core knows you. I know you. I don't know you like a Sean knows you. I don't know you like these guys know you, but I know you. And I know, and I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, not because you're a hustler player, not because, look, I've had other hustler players that I haven't said nice things about. You know that. We've been in that stuff. I'm not just going to, okie doke you, but you are a good person. And so what I said to you recently, which you're doing, and I'm really happy that it's happening, is that, look, you could be the villain. That's actually really entertaining, and you're good at it. And I'm not just saying that. You're really good at it. You have tons of people in this poker community, probably the most watched person in poker right now, whether it's they like you or hate you, and that's still a good thing. But you have to let people know you're a good person. You have to show that even a villain has to, I mean, if you've ever even watched movies, there's a villain, but they got this good side to him, right? How about like Dexter? Not that it's the same thing, but it's that concept where you're going to root for that guy, maybe hate him a little. And it's like, you had to make that adjustment because people legitimately don't know that you're that person. So I'm glad you're leaning into that. And of course, I know you're going to continue to do your thing and because you enjoy it. And it is kind of you. Like you like to like kick up the dust. But it's a good thing because it won't last with just complete villain.
Yeah. And
eventually you're just going to be phased out.
Also, I think like a bigger factor beyond that is just like, it's kind of nice to be liked.
Right?
It's just nice not to have like everyone be like so negative all the time. And like, maybe like that's just me being a little bit like sensitive because like the last month and a half has been like a lot of negativity.
Sure.
But it's nice to be liked, and like I enjoy being liked by the people that I'm around a lot.
Yeah.
And so I guess the same thing applies to like people on the internet, which whatever.
Yeah. And liked and maybe like after this interview and some of the other things in your apology, which by the way we'll get to, what I know was sincere. You and I talked off script. And you're like, no, I meant that shit. And that's good, and it resonated, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the apology stuff, like, I don't apologize unless I mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't apologize a lot, but when I do apologize, I mean it. Like, I apologize to you in one spot, like when I felt like I had wronged you, and like,
yeah,
I've apologized to people. Like, whenever I think I've done something wrong, I'm happy to apologize, and like, that's fine.
Yeah,
and
that's a good quality.
I don't have any shame in it. Like, I'm a human. The reason I don't have shame and I'm willing to apologize is because like my intent in every spot is super pure, and like people don't believe that, but I know it. Like I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and like it's never malicious or like mean spirited, and like even like this whole thing like calling Matt a scammer, like that can seem very malicious, right? But it to me it was more reactionary and like defending like people who I felt like had been attacked, and like this was my way of being like fuck you, like let me show you a piece of your own medicine kind of thing. Like,
go ahead.
Kind of like you took your platform and like chose to like spew like falsehoods. Like now I'm going to show you that I have a big platform too, like a bigger platform, and I can say whatever the fuck I want on it. And like, I'm not saying like that's like super good and like it's not maybe like perceived as malicious, but in my head it was like defending my people, and it was like being a good like I don't know, it in my head it was different. And now like in hindsight going through everything, I'm like, yeah, that was not the right thing to say and there were better ways to handle it, thus I apologize. And like I also realized kind of like, or not realize, but like, because we know this, but like, you know, just because someone does something wrong doesn't mean you need to like go to their level and do the same thing back to them or whatever. And so like calling him a scammer was just not cool. And like, I apologize for that.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you.
I just have one question regarding that. I want to expand on that. So like, I've been friends with Matt for a while. Well, we're not so much friends anymore. He blocked me for a little while when this whole fiasco started. But as I know Matt, and as you've probably gotten to know him, a little bit robotic, like he's very objective, and I think he really means well. Like I think when he was like looking at all the hustler stuff, he really thought he was like cracking the case or helping the community or maintaining the dignity of the game. Like I don't think he has this like vindictive or mean side to him. I just think he's like oblivious to how he might be perceived by other people sometimes. And I'm wondering if now that you've had this apology and you've spent time with him, do you look at the way he handled himself with the whole Jack 4 thing a little differently? Or are you apologizing just merely because you were out of line and it has nothing to do with your reflection on him?
No, nothing to do with my reflection on him at all. I think he was completely out of line in all of that. I think he continues to be completely out of line on his podcast. He continues to spew lies and nonsense and falsehoods and continues to use his platform to like basically like try to ruin Hustler by lying. And so like, no, I think his behavior is completely out of line. Now, I'm not saying what his intentions are or anything, and I don't think his intentions are as pure as everyone thinks. Like, I mean, like he was trying to open a club in Texas. Like Nick reached out to him and it was like, hey, you want to come actually help us like with stream security? And he just airballed that. Like, I don't think it's as like, I think he just wants to like use every opportunity he can to jump onto Hustler because that's the biggest thing in poker. Like that's the star in poker is Hustler. And so like, that's his best way to grow his brand.
I will say that during that time, because I maintained my friendship with him during the Jack 4 whole saga, but I didn't know that Nick had reached out to him several times to try to squash the beef, to get him to come out to Hustler to look at security. So I wasn't aware of like him extending the olive branch during that time. I kept looking at Berkey as like, hey, he's objective. He's trying to maintain the dignity of the game. I trusted him with that thought of him, if that makes sense.
And we all have to remember too that during this time, Berkey was regularly playing on Live at the Bike. I'm sure it helped him get a seat on Live at the Bike, talking shit about Hustler nonstop.
Well, anyone could get a seat over there, but
true. But you know what I mean.
But
and then
it's live from the parking lot at the Tropicana with the
one other
Tropicana.
thing I want to say about that whole Berkey thing is like, I think like there's a pretty like easy and stark like way of looking at it. Like, so Berkey came out and this whole Jack 4 thing happened and like talked a lot about it on his platform, right? Well, you know who else did? Doug Polk. A lot. And it wasn't all positive. A lot of it was negative.
Right.
But you know what else Doug did? He came to Hustler and like talked to Nick and Ryan and like looked at the stuff and was like, this is what you guys could do better. Like, this is what we can do better at the lodge. Like, this is how we can all as streams improve security. And he like, it wasn't like, let me just talk shit about you and like pull you down. It was like, let's talk about the issue and let's bring everyone up. And like, that's something I really respect is like, you know, he like came and put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah. And you know,
do you think Berkey took it personal? Is that what you're basically saying?
No, he's just saying that, you know, Doug did the same thing and maybe knee-jerked and said some things, but he at least had, like, if his intentions were right, then he did come out.
That's what I'm saying.
And he did look around, and we did show him around. And not to mention, when he came in, we showed him everything. And he's like, you guys know that I'm going to go back and, like, talk about this in the filing cabinet and this. And we're like, that's fine. Like, we're showing you it because we don't have anything to hide, and we never did. And one thing I want to say, too, real quick is the reason I reached out to Matt 2 or 3 times, well, when I was extending him the offer to come in, that was before it really, like, the wheels came off with us, and he just didn't come. He just was talking about it versus wanting to do something about it. But the reason I reached out to him a couple times on text is because I believe he pulled the first sword, but I was accountable for a lot of the bullshit that went on back and forth. And I made a lot of missteps. So I felt like you said, like, I'm human. I make mistakes. I felt like, okay, I need to extend the olive branch because, you know, I did a lot of things that weren't like really optimal with him, but he didn't receive it. And the other thing that I think is good for you, which I think is a big difference, and I'm sorry I do think this, is when you called Matt a scammer, like you didn't have your circle going, okay, scammer, 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 right? Repeating the same narrative. What you had was me on the mic and other people telling you personally, dude, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's funny? Actually, like, I don't think a single person in my circle told me that was right. Like, everyone told me that was wrong.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was just emotionally charged, and I was just like, fuck all of you. I'm going to battle. Like,
you're going to battle.
I'm going to battle, and I'm not, like, slowing down.
I came personally on the mic more than once and said, I'm sorry, even without you here, I'm sorry, I'm not getting behind the scammer thing. I'm not going to do it because I thought it took away from the other stuff that was real.
Yeah.
Because that's not real. And it's just like if you attack someone personally when there's actually a point, then your point gets lost.
I mean, here's what Rob Young told me. So I've, like, become friendly with Rob Young, who I think is
I think he's
so
really
awesome.
solid. Yeah.
He's great. He's great, yeah.
What he told me basically was like, Nick, everything you did and everything you've done is perfect. The one mistake you made was calling Matt a scammer.
Yeah.
He said, had you just said, Matt, you suck at poker and you shouldn't be teaching anyone poker, everyone's on your side.
Yeah, that's your opinion,
He said,
right?
but when you call him a scammer, especially in the poker context, like, it makes him the victim. And like that was like the mistake, and it's just like crosses a line.
Yeah, and it's
like,
not fair.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not fair. It's not true. It's not fair. And so like, you know, that's why I apologized, and I'm happy to continue to like reiterate my apology, and like
I think you were spot on too to say, I apologize for this. This was wrong. I take accountability, but no way am I walking back this because this is how I feel we got here.
Yeah. I still very much feel like
like
Landon made some comment, who like I cannot stand Landon, and he made some comment like, oh, we're the counterpunchers. And I was just like, no, you're not. Like, in no world are they the counterpunchers. Like, these guys threw the first punch way before anything. Like, it's just like so ludicrous to pretend like they're like the victims here. Like, I'm not saying we're victims either, but I'm just saying they definitely threw the first punch.
Yeah, that's nonsense. That's just supporting.
Let me ask you a question about the apology.
That's some. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. That's supporting someone blindly. And the two people that actually have ever pushed back on him was Christian Soto, hard on the Jack 4 stuff and the Hustler stuff, and me too. And not because, but only because he's level-headed and he'll tell you the truth. And then the reason why, even though Melissa trolls me, I've said this 10,000 times, and she's made funny jokes about me, and they're like most people would have been offended to him. But I watched her over the months, and yes, she still today, and she should. She supports Matt. She's going to support Matt before she would me, you, anyone, Valerie, the whole thing. So I get that because loyalty is hard to find, but I've seen her push back. I've seen her say no, and rumor is that there has been a lot of fallout because of that. Because the only thing that's being received is when it's in agreements. Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead.
That podcast is like an echo chamber. Like it's just a bunch of yes men.
So let me ask you, because I read this on Twitter, and I'm curious what your answer is, and I would love for you to answer as honestly as possible. If you won the Heads Up Challenge, would you have issued the same apology?
It's a good question, Val.
I like to think so, but obviously I don't know. I mean, so I think with the challenge ending, like obviously as the loser, there's a lot of introspection and like internal conversation, and like a big, like that was a talking point that was discussed, you know, and like perhaps it wouldn't have been as discussed, but I like to think that it still would have been a thing. Like I think a lot of people, like Nick said, like who are like, I don't know, the thing I feel very good about with myself is a circle of people I've surrounded myself are very like strong and like have their own opinions and are willing to speak them, and like I'll argue with them, and like it's productive. And so I like to think that regardless of the result, like people would still come to me and said like, that you need to apologize for this. This was wrong. And like, I would have been able to click there. Now, like, you know, in terms of like, so like after the match ended, like after he set overset me, like I shook his hand, like I offered a handshake. He shook my hand. I was like, congratulations. Like, you deserve it. I asked him what he had in a couple of hands, and then that was it. And then obviously he went on Twitter and was like celebrating and having a good time. And like a little bit of me was like, not like my, like, you know, whatever, like whatever.
Yeah,
but then I was
he
also,
had the right to do that.
That
took a lot of heat. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. I'm like, but then I'm like, I would have been way more insufferable. Like,
you would have. Yeah.
For
I
sure.
agree.
For sure. I would have been more insufferable.
Yeah. You'd had way less class.
Yeah, exactly. I would have been way more insufferable. Like for sure. But I also like to think that I still would have apologized for the scammer thing. I don't know, obviously. And like, we'll never know, but I like to think I would have, And so I'll go with that. I think people in my circle were very strongly feeling like that was a mistake. And like in the heat of the moment, I wasn't willing to listen because like it's kind of like you don't want to lose your edge. But after the fact, like, I'm very happy to listen to people who I think are smarter than me and like who I think like a lot of people. Like, the thing I feel very lucky about is I have a lot of people who just have my best interest at heart, like naturally. Like, I don't know, like it's just weird, like Nick or Ryan or like just a lot of people, like you know, names I don't want to say, but like they just have. I think just like, they have my best interest at heart for some reason. And so like when I think someone has my best interest at heart and they're giving me advice, even if it's advice I don't want to hear, like there's a reason they're giving it to me. And so I tend to think that like I should listen. And so a lot of people kind of gave me the advice that like you need to take a day, think about like how you approached it, the scammer stuff, and like consider apologizing. And so I did, and like I came to the conclusion that like I needed to apologize, and like I felt like it was important to do it publicly, not just text him or something like that, but like because like I called him out publicly, so I should use my platform to publicly apologize and walk it back. So I did.
So let me ask you, when did you start regretting calling him a scammer? Was it before you lost, or was it only after you conceded?
Can I refresh you on one thing? We did a podcast in the middle of it, and you were in agreement that it was wrong.
I think I regretted calling him a scammer pretty quickly, but I also like, it's like weird, like I feel like it's like in these like, maybe this is more like the sport side of things or whatever, but like I feel like when you're really like competitive and like with someone like, you know, whatever, it's like whatever you say, like you don't want to walk back or you don't want to like give in a little bit. You want to like keep that edge, you know? And so I think a lot of it was like that, but like, yeah, I mean, I realized quickly that it was like probably not the best strategy I've taken, but also it's like you can't walk it back once you've gone down that road, like you've already gone down that road. We'll play and we'll figure it out after. And that's what we did. You know, we played, I lost, and we figured it out after.
I think that's fair.
The reason why I ask is that it helps me gauge whether or not I think that you would apologize if you had won. And if you were, in my mind, based off of what you said, it sounds like you probably still would have apologized for calling him a scammer because you thought about it before, because you were ahead early on. So you thought about it before your loss. So I appreciate that.
I mean, me and Nick did a podcast, I think midway through maybe, I don't remember when, but like after I'd called him a scammer and we kind of talked about it, and I'd said like, yeah, maybe that wasn't the right word. Maybe fraud was a better word or whatever. But, you know, whatever. It wasn't the right thing of me to say or do, hence why I've apologized. I regret doing it for sure. I'm sorry that it affected Matt on a personal level and his business. And yeah, I shouldn't have stooped to the same level as them. And so I'm for that I apologize.
Yeah.
Is there a world where you could be friends with him potentially?
No.
Same.
Like the one thing like with me is like I am who I am, and like if I make a mistake I'll say it, but I still I detest him. I think what he did and what he continues to do is essentially unforgivable, and that's it. Like I have no interest in like publicly beefing with him or with anyone actually at this point right now, or like continuing to, I guess, like go back and forth on every little thing with him. He can do his thing, I'll do my thing. I'm sure we'll see each other at a table, and I hope I can fuck him up.
Yeah, and I will say this to your point. I agree with that. I feel the same way. I would never or could never be friends with him. And I'll just say this: this is like inked. Well, this was inked way before, but this really inked it for me in the last couple of weeks. And it's okay. I get it. And I wasn't even going to mention it. And I'm not slapping back. I want them to keep doing that. Let them keep doing it. And I'm not going to slap back. But I just will say, and I'm not going to give the person, everyone who's in the know of the the computer industry. That's like fucking 1989 for me. In the poker industry, knows there's a particular person that's the most vile, toxic person in the whole community. Okay, we all know who he is. If you don't, I'll tell you who it is later. And you know, I was on a Twitter space. This individual came in. I lost my shit with the moderators, and because like he should never be given a platform. And you know, they did a show talking about it and mocking me. And you know, this person has went after Matt. They went after other people. And even if you hate me, I'm still at least a better person than this person. So to take the opportunity and make fun of me and mock me by what I said and how I reacted to this particular person, really, it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because when it was sent to me again and I watched it and I thought, you know what? Perfect.
You're saying that the Matt did a show on this.
Yeah, and all the hyenas, did what they did, and it's like what I said to myself was, this is good, because if somebody with a right mind watches this and they know the scenario, you cannot get behind this, and it made me so much more like just not want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I honestly say anything they want, keep. I will never. We're talking about now because it's coming up, and this wasn't planned. And they always troll me for that because they think it is, but it just wasn't. This is organic, and I don't care what they say anymore. Like, I legitimately don't, because there's nothing to back it. All it is to back it is the disdain for me. And so I'm done with it. Let him keep doing that. And I'm like with you. It's like, look, I'm going to defend Matt by the scammer stuff because it's wrong. And I want to be the type of person, if it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon with you because you're my boy. It's not how it works. And I wouldn't be your friend if I did that, right? And so I kind of like what kind of our circle has going on. Let everyone do their thing, and that's it.
Yeah, I feel like at Hustler, like, there's no yes men.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fighting. Like, people don't know. There's a lot of arguing.
Oh yeah,
like there's a lot of arguing.
There's a lot of arguing.
There's a lot of arguing, but it's like it's not hateful arguing.
No,
it's like passionate arguing. That's what it is. That's the way I would describe it. It's passion. Like, people are like, the players are passionate. Nick and Ryan are passionate. The commentators, the staff, like, everyone's passionate. And so, like, the arguing comes from caring. Like, no one is arguing because they're like, I want this because it's in my best interest. I think this is what we should do because it's best for all of us. And, like, that's what the arguing comes from. And, like, that's the kind of people I want to surround myself with. And yeah.
Well, I think that there's an old Italian term, and it's called the fish stinks at the head. And that means who's ever at the head is what you're going to get all the way down. And so Ryan and I are the head of Hustler Casino, and whatever our vibe is, whatever our mission is what's going to trickle down into the people that we surround ourselves. And I feel the same way about Matt's group. The fish stinks at the head with him. And for us, like, Ryan and I, dude, I've said this before, we fight on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. I hung up on him 2 days ago because I couldn't listen to his voice for another second. And we've had he doesn't get like I do, because everyone knows I get like crazy, but he's relentlessly, like, he takes a personality like mine and throws it into the abyss of emotions because he's just relentless. And then it's like, take a couple minutes, he'll text me, he'll call me, or I'll do it with him. We're good. We laugh about it. And it's the same thing with you. I legitimately wanted to throat punch you for about 2 or 3 weeks. And but we worked it out because I know you're a good person and you did make the adjustments. And, if every time I made a mistake, I don't know why that fucker's laughing over there, but if everybody made a mistake, is it because of how I'm talking?
No, it's because, like, I've never wanted to throat punch you, Airball, so I'm probably the only one in the room.
I'm pretty throat punchable.
But, and who knows, everyone's going to say how violent I am, but it's just a phrase, right? And, but for me, like, if the people that really cared about me or I cared about didn't forgive me for making a mistake or taking a misstep or going the wrong direction, then I wouldn't have any friends. Yeah. I wouldn't have anyone. So you have to forgive. You have to take what the intent is, and you have to look at the heart. Because, what the fuck is your name? Veronica, and I call her Valerie so much that legitimately I go to my phone and I type in Valerie and I can't find her. And it's Veronica. So, like, legitimately, and I've said this before, we've really had some real, like, disputes. Like, some serious shit. And
healthy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And even on the regular, we have some small ones. But I look at her heart. I look at, like, a little deeper into that, and I think she does the same thing. And that's why I think we could come back to whatever it is that we were before. So that's what I have to say.
That's literally that's like me and Ishan. Like, Ishan tilts me so fucking hard. Like, so hard.
In which way?
Just like, it's variance. Like,
you do it the best I've heard.
Yeah, because I'm fucking around it all the time, and I just get set over set by Matt, and I lose the challenge. And I come out to him like, "Fuck, it's over. I lost." And he's like, "Variance sucks." And I literally was just like, I called Lynn, and I said, "Lynn, I cannot be around Ishan right now." And she's like, "Let me call him." I was like, Lynn, I cannot. And like I was so mad. But then I got like within 5 minutes I'm fine because I'm like, I know Ishan's heart. Like his heart is like he's trying to like make it calm and like he's saying it's just variance, don't worry. And like yeah, maybe he's like way he communicates isn't the best way that I receive it. But I know what he's trying to do. And like I know I can't actually justify being mad. But let me tell you, like I steam at Ishan. Like, there's a couple times where I've wanted to just tackle him. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad.
See, this is where the throat punch comes in.
Yes. I want to throat punch him. That's what it is. Like, I'm so mad. Like, I'm so mad. But I'm like, he's so pure-hearted. Like, so pure-hearted that I just can't be upset. Like, I feel like I'm an asshole for being upset with someone who's so pure.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the point. So, you have anything else, Val, before I read this?
No. I'm done with the throat punches.
Okay, thank God. All right. So the reason I'm reading this too is not to, let me read your apology. It's because there are some people listening to this or watching this that I promise you have not heard this or seen it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it should be represented and then everyone draw their conclusion. My statement on the heads up match with MATT BERKEY 11. First of all, I want to congratulate MATT BERKEY on his victory. There was a lot of shit talking, most of it fun, and to add excitement to the match, but in the end, I have to give credit where credit is due. He played well, he played better than I expected he would, he won fair and square, and he deserves to celebrate his win. I want to apologize for the comments I made about Matt being a scammer, and the negative comments I made about his business. That was out of line, and I regret making those comments. I got caught up emotionally in the heat of the moment and said some things I shouldn't have said, and for that, I apologize. Matt showed during this match that he is a true professional. I have a lot to learn as a poker player. I have a newfound respect for heads-up poker. I didn't have any experience in heads-up, but I learned a lot while studying and playing this match, and I have a lot to learn. My experience is in live ring games, and that is where I feel most comfortable and have the most fun. And I have a question about that later. I also have a lot to learn as a person, as a public figure in the poker world. My close friends know the type of person I am and the character I have. But in poker, I enjoy being an exuberant, polarizing character. I believe poker needs characters, but sometimes I go too far with it, and that's something I need to work on. I'm never going to change how I really am: fun, loud, social, and sometimes obnoxious, but I can work on being better and not making comments that can be hurtful. In the end, I just want to have fun and play some poker. Thanks to everyone who supported me throughout this match. It was a fun journey, even though I fell short. Even to the haters, I appreciate all of you as well. Pretty cool. It was very, very, very good. It was written very well. Yeah, and I commend you for doing that. I really do. So, all right. So let's talk about this a little bit since we're on the subject of the match. I think you may have talked a little bit about this. You lost $1 million in this match, okay? I read your apology. I'm just looking over my notes. So I guess the question was, but you answered it. I was going to ask you, why did you initially rattle that cage? But you answered it. It was the HCL stuff, all that. We don't need to reiterate that. But the question is, and I think it is, the disdain you had, was it real?
No.
Yeah,
it still is real.
It still is real. Okay.
Still is real.
Yeah.
I think it would be disingenuous to say it's not. Like, I stand by my apology, but the disdain is real.
What was the real parts and what was the bravado? If you couldn't decipher. If not, it's cool. Was there anything that stuck out to you as just pure bravado? And what was like the most real?
I mean, I guess the bravado was calling him a scammer. Like, that was, you're right. I guess that was the bravado, and everything else was real. I mean, like, the emotional charge behind my actions was real.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, when he got in my face at Bobby's room, I think that was real for him. Like, I don't think that was like him trying to hype it up. That was real for him. Like, when I was like screaming at Poker Go, like, that was real for me. Like, I was actually like annoyed. I was like, you don't get to fucking talk about covering me when like you never actually buy in to cover me. Like,
right.
That was real. Like that like, I'm not saying it was the right thing to do or pretty or whatever, but it was real. Like, the only thing I think that was like quote unquote bravado was like the scammer stuff, and like hence why I apologized. And yeah,
was it hard to sit there face to face with him for that many hours?
Yeah, that's like the number one thing I learned was like, heads up, like with someone you don't like sucks. Like, you have to spend so much time with someone you really don't like.
Yeah,
you get talk like,
it's horrible, right?
Like, I haven't played that much heads up when I've played. It's always been at the end of sessions with people I like.
Yeah,
like recently, like I played with Ben and I lost like a ton, but like I enjoyed it because like I like Ben, and like, I don't know. It's like the number one thing I learned. I mean, and since the heads up with Berkey, like other people obviously have been interested in playing me heads up, but all of the people who have been interested are people I extremely don't like. Like,
right.
Extreme, maybe even more than Berkey don't like. And so like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, just not interested in like being unhappy. And like, I feel like right now, like I call the shots in these things, and like I choose to do whatever I want, and everyone else can just kind of like they just gotta like wait for me to make the call, and I'm not interested in playing anyone I don't like right now.
Okay, and did you guys?
So during one of your podcasts, I think it was with Doug that you said that you wanted to play Garrett heads up, and Garrett responded on Twitter and said he will accept your proposal. So why are you backing out now?
So I'm not backing out. These offers don't have a forever expiration date. I offered to play. The offer has been made multiple times. He could have accepted it when I made it and said, "Hey, I'm about to have a child. I need a couple months and we'll start." He didn't. The offer expired. He obviously conveniently chose to bring it back up after I had lost.
Which part?
Just Garrett bringing up the challenge after I lost. And I think I don't know. I don't really want to get too much into Garrett. I'm no interested in playing him. I fundamentally disagree with how he conducts himself. I stand by everything I said on Doug Polk's podcast. I once again stand by it here on Nick Vertucci's podcast, and he's not telling me not to say I stood by it or whatever. Like, I stand by what I said there. If anyone wants to know my thoughts on like a lot of the politics and stuff, like they can refer to that. In terms of like moving forward and stuff, I have no interest in playing someone I don't like at this point in time. Perhaps that'll change, and I wish him all the best. I would appreciate if he would stop personally attacking me, but once again, I don't have any expectations of that. And I hope his child is healthy, and I wish him all the best with fatherhood and whatever he has next in life. But for me right now, like I'm going down a different path.
Yeah.
So can I ask you about the heads up challenge? Like as far as technical poker, what would you have changed looking back?
So I think what I would have changed is just not gotten into a heads up match, because I had a very different impression of heads up than what it is. Like, to me, heads up was like, who's sicker in the head? Like, who wants it more? Who will put in the last bet? Who will call like the big bet with like nothing? Like, who is the sickest man? And I'm sicker than everyone. Like, I'll fucking put myself up against everyone. I'm the sickest, like in my head, like I'm out of my mind. Like, you don't want to play me heads up. Like, you don't want to play heads up with someone who's out of their mind. Well, what I found out quickly was you actually do want to play heads up with someone who's out of their mind, because heads up's incredibly technical. And I had no fucking clue. I thought heads up was just pure art, and I was like, I'm an artist. Like, I'm gonna fucking show you what's up. Like, we're gonna take it to the streets, but it's not like that at all. It's much more like small pots, and like it's just technical. I mean, I guess that's why Doug's the best, because like he's super smart. Like, it's not because he's a sick man. It's because he's a super smart man.
Yeah.
And so like I guess I just kind of. I didn't understand the format. I underestimated the format, and I got punished for it. In terms of like what I would have done differently, I think this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, but I think what I would have done differently is done no coaching and just played.
Why is that?
Well,
I think I know, but I'll let you answer.
I lost $1 million with the coaching, and so in hindsight, I rather would have just died on my own sword, playing the way I think is best and being like who I am, versus like trying to conform to like something else. And I also think like to some extent, like I was very focused on playing well from other people's perspectives, but not necessarily from mine. So
let me say what my experience would be with having any type of coaching or training and playing. And if this doesn't resonate with you, it's just my take. When you're playing and you feel what to do without the coach, like I had some coaching in the past, and then I got like in a groove. I was running good and I was playing good, and I just felt like you did, like, I'm gonna crush these guys. Like, are you kidding me? I'm gonna 3-bet, do whatever. They're drawing dead against me. That's how I felt when I was really doing well.
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing bad, of course it's different. You lose your confidence. But then when you go back into the lab, and let's say you want to learn a different strategy, or you want to expand your training and you start learning different theories. At first, when you're doing that, you don't really have it in your core. You don't understand it. You can't do it in game flow. You need time to think and remember what the fuck you were told or what you're supposed to do. But sometimes, in the heat of adrenaline and things and pressure and stress, you can't pull it. And so what you start doing is trying to do what you think you're supposed to do but you're not really doing it. And then if you would have just went on your own instincts you probably had a, but now if you took that training, went all the way through it, really took your time and did it for a year, then you go in, you just implement it. But if you play while you're in the lab and you're trying to learn something new, you're actually goofy footed.
This is 100% correct. And also like another factor is like, and I've said this a million times, but I'm sure people don't believe it. I've never gotten coaching, never had a subscription to a training site, never done hand history review with anyone, none of that shit. Never.
Well,
ever,
I mean, you're
ever.
4-betting with 10-4 off. We believe you.
Yeah, until this like challenge. I never had done it, and I'm never gonna do it again. Like I did it during this thing, and I fucking hated it. I'm never getting coaching again. It's horrible. I it makes poker into like school. It fucking sucks. Like let me be an artist, and like is how I feel. And like so, I think a lot of it was like I was trying to like internalize all these concepts. I was trying to like. I don't know. I was trying to do a lot of things at the same time. Like, for example, this is going to sound really bad, but it's the truth. I don't count the pot when I'm in a pot. I don't know how much is in there. I just estimate. Like, there's a lot of chocolates. Let's bet a lot of chocolates. There's a lot of greens. Okay. And like every once in a while,
you're not betting 2/3 of the pot.
Never.
Okay.
And every once in a while, you'll notice like a hustler, like I'll reach in and I'll spread the pot myself, and that's because I'm like, let's see how much is in there.
You did that Friday when you folded the best hand.
Yes.
Jacks. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Sometimes I check how much is in there. I'm like, oh, there's not that much in there, and you bet a lot. Okay, I'll fold. Like against Bobo, we bet 100K when I had Ace Queen and he had 9-4 a full house, and I was like, that's a greedy bet. And then I like spread up the pot. And I was like, oh, I guess the pot is 75,000. It's not that greedy. Like I had no idea. Like I was like, whoa, 100,000. That's a lot of fucking money, dude. They're greedy.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. Like so I was like, I'm trying to count the pot. I'm trying to remember what hands to open, what hands to 3-bet. Like I'm trying to remember like on this board, this is the size we bet. Oh, we bet 66%. Okay, now let me fucking calculate what 66% is. And like, and then I bet 68%. 18 people are gonna scream at me for betting 68%, not 66. And like, there's just like a lot of stuff that like was tough. Now, obviously, like everyone was
good intention,
and I think like I chose to go down that path. So it's not like anyone else is like, I'm not like blaming anyone or having any negativity, or I just want to make that clear. Like, I just think in hindsight, given the time constraints of the starting the challenge, I might have been better off and maybe would have been able to live with the result more if I had just gone in, played, and that's it.
If you had 6 months to prepare or more, it would have been plus EV for you. Doing it right before and during, total disaster.
Not the right move.
Total disaster.
So, yeah, you know, and I really just, I think like a couple things. So obviously like Matt ran incredibly hot, whether he wants to say it or not. Like it's just the truth. Like I've never run so bad. It's so fucking brutal. But anyways, I also think like his experience in the format, like because he's obviously played a decent amount of heads up, like made a difference.
Yeah.
And I also think that like my lack of understanding just generally for the format made a huge difference. Like just the fact that I thought it was more of like a fight than it was like a technical battle kind of influenced how I played in a lot of spots. And like, I don't know, it's not the format for me. It's weird. Like my favorite format of poker is like 4-handed or 3-handed. Like I feel like I'm a monster 3-handed or 4-handed or 5-handed. Like I'm just going to be an animal, but for some reason it just doesn't translate to heads up in the same way. And I don't really know why. And you know, I don't know. It's not, I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite thing, and I don't think I'll be doing it again anytime soon.
I guess my one question or comment about what you just said is like, when you're telling me you're trained as an investment banker and when you went to university for investment banking, wouldn't like keeping track of the pot and like the more technical portions of the structure of the game come a little more intuitively to you? Or is this just like something you do for fun as a break for your brain?
Yeah, that's what poker started as for me, as a hobby, like for fun. And like I also think like, this is just my personal opinion, I think all that technical shit doesn't matter in like live poker. Like I don't think any of it matters, especially in ring games. Like I just don't think it matters.
Why?
I don't think it matters if you 3-bet the right hands or 4-bet the right hands. What matters is like, what mood is your opponent in? How much money have they won? How much money have they lost? Is the session ending soon? Are they quitting soon? Are they up money? Are they down money? Like, did they just get shown a bluff? Did they just show a bluff? Like, these things matter. It's not like what you have doesn't actually fucking matter. Like, what matters is, oh, my opponent has one pair. Well, I know this person will not put in more than $100,000 with one pair. That's their threshold. Or I know this person was not going to believe me. They're down 200K. They're in a bad mood. They're not going to fucking fold a pair. We're not going to try to run it on them. That's the stuff that matters. And that's why, like, when I play, like, my cards often, like, don't match the board or don't ever, like, look like cards you should be playing. But it's because, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if the guy, like, like I think I talked about a hand that like this hand I think kind of is my best example of this. So the day Mariano won like 600K with aces versus kings, we continued to play post stream, and we were gonna end the game soon. So he's up 600K and we're gonna end the game soon. So what did I do? I just fucking went berserk. Like I just went berserk with king deuce off. I opened it to 1,000. He made it 6,000. I made it 27,000. He called. The flop was like 10-5 deuce. He checked. I bet like 15,000. He called. The turn was a 6. I bet 50,000. He called. The river was like a 4, and I just shipped it all in for 250,000. Because I was like, unless you have top set, like you're not calling. You're not even calling me with aces. Like, why? Because you're up 600K, and if you call and lose, you just lost back $400,000, and now you just had like a very average session versus like the greatest session of your life. And we're breaking in 5 minutes. Like, you're not gonna call.
There's the art.
Yeah, that's fucking art. That's live poker. Like, that's like, you want to come play with me? Like, good luck. Like, that's that's how it works. Like, Lynn talked about this. Like, and this is something I take pride in. She's like, when you play with Nick, your stacks and play every fucking hand, and it's stressful. And that's what I like. That's the stuff that matters to me. And I don't think like knowing what hands a 3 and 4 and 5 bet matter. It's like defend everything in position, play deep, and fucking battle. And like, don't be scared. It's like this is the thing is like. Most people can't play the way I play and have this philosophy because they're scared. That's just the fucking truth. Like, they're scared to put in all the money with dust. And like,
well, they're scared because they don't have as much money as you. That's the thing.
It's not even about that.
No,
like,
I don't think so. I have more money than Nick from what he just told me, and I'm scared.
Vertucci has all the guys I play with have more money than me. I'm like the brokest of all of them, but I'm just like not scared. Like I just think like it's one thing to say like. I open 7-6 offsuit, right? And then someone in like the blinds 3-bets me who's like a recreational player. And it's easy for me to tell someone like you have to defend every single hand that you open in position versus a recreational player if they 3-bet you.
Yeah.
But I actually fucking do it. Go look. Go fucking look at the tape. If I open 10 deuce suited and someone 3-bets me or 9-3 off and a recreational player 3-bets me and I'm in position, I call because we're deep and I'm willing to put all the money in regardless of my cards. Like if like a recreational player who I think plays tight pre-flop 3-bets me and I have Jack 4 off, I'm calling. If the flop comes like 6, 7, 8, like we can try playing for all the money. Like, do you have 9-10 ever? No. Like, do you want to call it off with aces? No. Let's play. And like that's what I think matters in live poker. And so that's why I don't focus on like the pot or any of that shit. Like the pot doesn't matter. Like if your opponents aren't counting how much is in the pot, why should you? It doesn't matter.
So, Nick, what you're saying is when you hear people in poker, commentators, people who doing strat, and they're like, well, you got to be right 1 out of 3. Like, you just think that's total horseshit.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to calculate pot odds until this challenge. I'm not kidding. Like, they were like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, they're like, if someone bets pot, like, how often do you have to call? And I was like, I don't know, not a lot, because they bet pot. Like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? Like, it doesn't, like, this is the shit that doesn't matter. Like, I had an argument with Doug. So after high stakes poker, the stream, me and Doug were discussing a couple of the hands.
Yeah.
And one of the hands we were discussing was the hand where he had Jack 10 and Rob Young check raised him on the river. So I think it was like Ace 10X flop. Doug had 3-bet Rob Young. Doug like bets. Turn was a Jack. So he binks like a 2-pair and Rob Young had King Queen. And Rob like check calls turn and then the river Rob goes for a massive check raise. And I was like, wow, Doug, you're a fucking fish. Like, that's a horrible call. Like, I was just kind of laughing at him.
Yeah.
And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the top of my range or whatever. Like, he's like, the line I took, like, this is the best hand I'm ever going to have. Like, I have to call here or whatever, right? And I was like, but if your opponent's never bluffing, it doesn't matter. Like, if you just never have the best hand, it doesn't matter. He's like, but that minimum defense frequency. I'm like, and
yeah,
and like
they'll tell you that like, well, but 62% of the time you're gonna win, so over time you're printing.
Exactly. And so I was telling Doug, I'm like, but Doug, he's never bluffing. And then Doug was like, well, I just guess he's like, my philosophy is I'm just gonna play good technical poker and like I know I'm gonna win in the long run. And I was like, all right, then it doesn't matter. Like then you can be happy with the hand. My goal is to like play perfectly versus my opponent's hands. And if I know my opponent's not bluffing and like I have a hand that can't win, I'm not gonna pay. Unless obviously I'm emotional, in which case I will. But and when I'm in a clear state of mind, I'm not going to pay, like, and so I think these are the things that matter much more than like math and all this kind of stuff.
20? Okay, we got a producer that's got 20. But go ahead. I don't want to stop that because it is very interesting.
That's it. Like that's how I approach poker. I mean, you when I'm at my most confident, you see me play any 2 cards.
Yeah.
In position against everyone, and like. That's
because you have a plan. It's not about your cards.
It's not even that I have a plan. It's just that I'm willing to do anything in any spot. Like,
that's the plan.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, that's the plan. Sure. Like, I'm not saying like I'm necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna check raise him on this flop. It's just like the flop comes and I sense some weakness and I'm like, time to pounce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or like my opponent goes bet, and I'm like, you're not capable of betting 3 times with one pair, so I'm gonna call you with one pair because I know you either have a huge hand or nothing.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. Like that's how I see it. Versus like, oh, I block his, value hands and unblock his misdraws, so this is a good calling candidate. Like, no, it's just like this guy's been punting it off all night. He's on tilt. He's punting it off again. Call. That's what it is. Like that's how live poker works, and that's how you like win all the money.
Yeah. So real quick, 3 questions, then we're gonna go on to the $1 million game.
Sure.
Was there any talk or chat with Matt? Was there any tense moments, and was there any good moments? Whatever. If there's not, just.
Talk and chat, not much, just a little bit of shit talking. At one point he got like really mad at me, like went on a tirade.
Break that down. That's what they want to hear.
Oh, like, so it was like, there was this day where, so one day I bought on 1.2 million and I just had the chips all over and he was like upset that like in one of the first hands I raised him on the river and he bet 1,500. He bet 1,000. I grabbed a 1K chip and a 5K chip from the back and put it in there, and he turned his hand over because he thought I called. But I had raised. Doesn't matter. He turned his hand back over, made a decision, folded. Then he was upset because he was like, I made a mistake because your big chip was in the back or whatever, my 5Ks. I was like, it doesn't matter. I cover you. Well, he threw a big fit, calls the floor. Floor finally comes and says, you need to put your big chips in the front. So I'm like, sure. Floor says that I do what the floor says. So I have a lot of chips. I'm moving the chips or whatever. And as I'm doing it, he opens the next hand. He's on his phone. So now I'm a little bit cranky. So I said, call the floor again. I want to know if his hand's dead. Like, fuck it. You want to be a little bitch? Like, I'm going to be a little bitch too. Like, I was like that kind of mood. I was like, fuck it, And so I was like, call the floor. Well, the floor man wasn't there. So it took him 10 minutes to come back.
So you waited.
I fucking just sat there and waited. I said, I'm not doing shit until I know the ruling.
What was the ruling?
The ruling was you can be on your phone. But like, so anyways, so then after the floor gets the ruling, like we start playing and Matt just goes on a tire, like, you're a little bitch, like you're a fucking loser. Like,
did he say that? You're a little bitch?
Yeah, he said a lot worse stuff than that too. And I went on a tire and I just like laughed.
Wait, no, tell us what he said, because I feel like a lot of people look at Berkey as this like really perfect stoic figure in poker, including me for a while. And I'm just curious, like, what are the things he said? And tell us honestly if you were insulting him too, if it was like an honest back and forth, or did it just?
So there was no response from me. I was just humming and laughing because I had my headphones in. I don't know. He just said like a lot of nasty stuff. I don't really want to repeat it because it was just like not. He was pissed and I was just like, whatever. It was emotionally charged.
Look,
I don't necessarily think it's who he was.
Nick,
he was emotionally charged.
Okay, so I'm just telling you right now, you got dragged publicly and you said a lot of shit that you apologized for the big one. And I think that like you came around and your tweet was good, but like, I just need you to know that like everyone looks at Berkey as this like golden boy in this moment. And I think it's good to give a reality of like what happened, because he didn't have it streamed. He didn't want it streamed. And like, it appeared as though like you were shit talking the whole time and he was just like sitting there stoically. So I think it's like, it's a balanced thing to say, to tell us what he was saying to you. Cause like, I think that's terrible that he was just like calling you names randomly.
Translation, you're not leaving until you tell us.
I mean, he was like, you're a bitch, you're a fucking loser, you fucking talk so much, like, you're a dick. Like, I don't know, just like a lot of like name calling. It was like a 5-minute rant, and I just laughed the whole time.
And that was because of the phone thing.
Because of the phone thing. He was just like, you're such a fucking pussy. Like I don't know. It's just like a 5-minute rant. And like,
what were you saying?
Nothing. I was just humming. I don't think I insulted him at all when we played, except for one time I think I called him a pussy because like he just never bluffed. And like, I was just like, come on, man. Like, just bluff one time. Like, show me you have some heart, but whatever.
Were you surprised when he came up to you and like got in your face early on?
Oh, at Bellagio?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck's happening? Like, how immature are you that you want to like fight me? But yeah, so I mean,
do you think he would have fought you?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think he would have. He might not have done it right there because he plays there, and maybe he was heated enough. But I think so. And if I'm wrong, I apologize because I can't speak for Matt. But he looked really upset. Like, I don't think that's the posture of a guy that's bluffing.
I was pretty entertained. But anyway, so like there wasn't too much talking. It was just tense. Like it wasn't a fun environment. It was just tense. Like there was a good amount of like just like small, like I guess like after big pots, like one person would kind of like bitch a little bit at the other, like you're so fucking lucky, or like you're so fucking bad. He told me a bunch of times, or like I told him a bunch of times, like he told me so many times like you're fucking so fucking bad, and so many times I told me like you're so fucking lucky, like like whatever, like I don't know. That's
all right.
Yeah, like it was whatever. Like I don't think anything was wrong. Like whatever, it was all whatever. We were in battle, you know. In battle, anything goes, I think, and so I think it goes both ways. Like anything he said goes, anything I said go when you're in battle, and then we sort out after.
I really like that about you. I feel like you kind of get it, and I think you roll with the punches from what I've seen. I like that you lean into shit. I really liked your apology. It shows that you have a dynamic character, and like the fact that you're sitting here and being like, hey man, we were at battle, like he can call me names. Like, I just think that's commendable. I'm like really impressed with that response, because I feel like you could have easily like tweeted about all the shit he said to you that day in that match and like been just like pissy about it, but instead you're just like, whatever, we're in battle. So that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, redirecting if we could, because we got about 15 minutes left before our producer turns into a pumpkin. The $1 million game. You excited?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, how many days are you slotted for? Do you know?
So I'm guaranteed one day, and then I might play a second or third depending on lineups and stuff.
Or attrition.
Yeah, or attrition. Yeah, that's what I mean by lineups and stuff. So the day that I'm guaranteed, I think I can say this because
go for it.
Fine.
Yeah, say it.
So it's Sunday. It's the third day. The first 2 days are like the debut days are going to be like pretty much all big names, like whatever, like big names.
And the first 2 days,
yeah. So like I don't think I have much of a chance there, but there's still some shot, since I'm friends with Eric and a bunch of the players and stuff. But like they're more focused on like businessmen and stuff, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna schedule to play the third day, and then Ryan said I can play the fifth day if I want.
Is the fifth day? Did Ryan tell you it's confirmed?
It's not 100% confirmed.
Yeah, I didn't know if it changed.
So what Ryan, I guess, I mean, whatever, you can edit out if it's not supposed to be said.
No,
but what Ryan said is that as of now, so what he's done is he's scheduled 4 days. Lineups are essentially done, but like not
they're done.
Like done but not done, whatever, And then what he's done is he's scheduled a fifth day in terms of like day. So that'll be what, Tuesday of that next week. Like we're gonna have the $1 million game, no lineup. And whoever's in town, the losers, you'll get first shot at it.
Right.
Like if you're down a couple million or whatever, you get a first shot in the lineup. And from there, he'll build it out the day of, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's really smart. Like there's going to be a shitload of players in town. Everyone wants to play. Like filling that lineup's easy. Like, I mean, I don't know if you got what you guys think, but like we basically played a $1 million game the last 2 Fridays. Like
it's been insane. It's funny because I heard on one of the spaces where like some people, I won't say who it was, but there's people in there going, well, they're effectively playing 500, 1,000. So if you do the math and like I don't know if we'll see these pots. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. We play 5-5 and you lose 100 ball. The ante game. Yeah. How much did you lose in the ante game last week?
Oh, I won.
Oh, you did. Well, didn't you play one where you lost like in a smaller game? Oh, you won in the ante game. That's right.
I won 10K in the ante game, and then I lost 170 on Wednesday.
In the Wednesday. All right, the 25-51. That's the one I was asking about.
It's a good game.
Personally, we talked about this again on Spaces. I'll tell you, I honestly think it's going to be insane.
Here's what I'll say. I think we see, let's think. We do 5 days. We're 12 hours a day, 60 hours. I think we'll probably see $5 to $10 million pots and at least $2 million pots.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think like people are like, you have to have the sickest cooler. No, you don't, man. Like you just have to have someone on tilt fucking put in $1 million. Like that's it. Like
go back and watch some of our episodes.
Stuck and on tilt.
Yeah. Like
I'll watch a couple Friday shows.
Listen, I've told myself going into this, I want to run $1 million bluff.
Wow.
What if you
lose $2 or $4 million when this is all said and done? It is what it is.
Fucking suck.
Yeah, but you're going to cover everybody in the game you're in, no matter what. You said that. Is that still in place?
Yeah, that's my goal.
Okay.
I have to. So I will say this. I lost $2 million, so that's like a lot. $2 million of liquidity I lost. So now I need to I need to get liquidity to then whatever, and so that's a little bit of a headache.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot harder. People don't understand how hard it is to get chips at the casino.
No, it's really hard.
Not fucking easy. Like people think that like if you have millions of dollars, you just like sit in your bank account, like millions of dollars sit there. It's like no, we have like $10 in our bank account. Like it's in investments. Like
no, right.
It's not like easily accessible money. So I'm having to deal with that actually right now, preparing chips and stuff. So I was thinking if I can buy from other players and everything. So we'll see how much money I'm able to get there. My goal is to get as much money as possible there, but we'll see what happens.
Who's in your lineup that you know?
I don't know.
Cool. What you've never asked ever, even in this game, huh?
I never fucking asked. I asked the day of when I show up because I want to know who I'm gonna get to hang out with.
Yeah. Who are you most looking forward to playing with if you get a chance?
Just no one. I mean, I guess like I'm excited for Rob Young and stuff. Like I really enjoy his company and everything, and like Charles and the regular people. I mean, for me, I'm mostly just excited about the fact that like everyone has to buy in a million. Like I love the deep buys, and I think that's when like poker can be really sick.
Yeah.
Like, when everyone's forced to buy deep, I think that's where like I have an advantage because like I have a like lot less regard for like the money and.
I've
chips.
often said that's an advantage. I've said it about you that the advantage with Nick was never technical ability, but your advantage is you're willing to put it all out and really put it all out. And, you know, when you're playing poker and you're playing with someone that doesn't want to put their whole stack in, you have a huge advantage. Your card values go up by 2x, 10x.
I was talking to Sean. He was saying that I'm like Phil Hellmuth, but in the opposite way. In that, like, Phil Hellmuth will go with his reads no matter what. Like, he'll make insanely big folds. Like, he'll fold kings off of, like, 15 big blinds in a tournament because he's like, I know you have aces, and he'll fold, right? He goes with his read. I'm the same way, but, like, not on the aggressive side. Like, I will go with my reads no matter what for any amount of money, like, bluffing it off. If I think this was going to work, I'm going to fucking run it. Like, I'm going to run it. Like, if you can trick me into thinking you're weak when you're strong, I'm going to run it. Like, I'm going to run it. I don't care about my cards. I'm going to run it. And, like, in the $1 million game, you have $1 million to work with running it. Like, that's a lot of, like, maneuverability for bluffing. Like, someone opens 3,000, someone 3-bets 10,000, I can 4-bet 50,000. Like, they call it 100K in the pot. We still have 950K behind. Like, you bet 50K on the flop, they call. You bet 200K on the turn, they call. You have a 700K river jam. That's pressure, baby. Yeah. That's max pressure.
That's pressure.
Like, that means you put in $300,000 and you still have to face 700K on the river. Yeah. Like, now we're talking. Like, that's fucking pressure. Like, I want to see these billionaires call off 700K on the river. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to fucking put them to the test, you know? And I think that's what the $1 million game's going to be sick. I mean,
you're right.
I know Wesley has that same mentality. Like, Wesley's already started preparing chips, and, like, he's ready to fucking put people to the test.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Vanessa, you got anything before I ask the next question?
Yeah. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I wanna ask Airball for a favor.
Okay.
And you're both named Nick, so I'm now calling you guys by your last name. Airball, make me a promise. When you stack somebody, come over to me for an interview. We don't need Joey Ingram to get in our way. We need to have a good interview on camera. You need to come to me and spill the beans to me. Come on.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to leave the table. I'll be honest. Like,
oh yeah. If you do leave to go to the bathroom or something, I'm gonna give me like a 1 minute interview.
Like last night we were playing and the game was like pretty good and chill, and I was taking like breaks for whatever reason. I'm sure people know. And then Brad showed up, and I didn't leave the fucking table again. I just sat there like a fucking frog.
You pee your pants?
Yeah, I was like, game's on. When the game is on, I don't leave the table. And then
you gotta get those oversized men diapers, and whatever happens.
And in the $1 million game, I'm putting a catheter in, getting a feeding tube, and I'm fucking not leaving the table.
All right, we'll go to the pediatric ward and we'll get you that catheter, and we'll go, baby.
Exactly.
We'll go.
The other thing people don't realize is I think every $1 million game stream will be like 12 hours plus.
Oh, for sure. That's going to be our biggest challenge, is to be able to stop the game without pissing off the losers and saving the people who need to sleep, so we don't break the game the next day or screw up the lineup.
And I think that each game is going to go like 12 to 16 hours. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan's going to stream every second of it.
Duh.
Well, Ryan said, he confirmed that he's cutting it off at 12 hours, and I told him he shouldn't.
He won't.
I told him he needs
Ryan
to keep
is a degen, bro. Ryan is a degen for poker and the show. Are you kidding me? When the game is at 12 hours and someone's stuck $1 million and on rage tilt and straddling and the pots are all 300-400K, you think Ryan's gonna be like, hey guys, great show today, let's go home? No, he's gonna be like, fucking strap in. Like,
he's like in front of the door and no one's going anywhere.
Yeah, he's like,
what else? Guess what else? If he tries to shut down that stream, the chat pros are gonna lose their minds.
Shit.
And
they lost their shit
Ryan.
last night.
Yeah.
As they should. Last night
because it was so good, and we wanted to keep that piece for the week of the $1 million game week, so we had some material, and it was insane, right?
People
stand by to stand by.
Stand by to stand by. Things continue.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what BB stack was when the stream ended, but let me tell you, volatility is a real thing in poker, and we fucking loved it last night.
Yeah, it was sick. It was sick.
I mean, it's just like last night was just like that's what really good games are like.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
I mean the Andy straight flush against nut flush. Then we had the
how blessed is Mariano? Like,
yeah, and then
fuck?
Mariano was on the bad side with what's his nuts? The
aces 5-6 ace king. Yeah,
yeah.
He's on the bad side.
The 5-6 scoop two boards.
He's supposed to just stack Bobo for 250K.
Mariano has aces. Bobo has ace king.
So here's the hand. It goes Mariano opens to like 1,000. Bad Brad makes it 8,000.
Yeah.
Bobo makes it 20,000 or 25. Mariano then I think it's a 6-bet, right? Open 3-bet, 4-bet. No, 5-bet.
5-bet.
60,000.
Call.
BB calls.
Yeah. With 5-6.
I mean, it's a pretty good hand.
It's fair.
Bobo shoves 250. Mariano snaps. BB snaps.
Like snaps.
Yeah, snaps.
Yeah, no, I saw.
Yeah.
Like it was snap.
I mean, didn't you see him snap the 3-4 against Andy?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's insane.
BB's a sicko.
And it runs out in the 5-4 scoops.
5-6.
5-6 scoops.
Yeah, so first one 3-4 king turn deuce. Second one 6-6-3.
And somebody said, put 2 6s out. Wouldn't that be sick?
Yep.
And they came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sick.
Dude, and it gets even better in that little piece that we got saved.
It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
It's so sick.
It's so fucking insane.
Can't wait for this week, bro.
Did Ryan tell you anything about it?
No, we haven't talked.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I'll find out about it.
It's insane. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, dude, you know it's insane when the guy shows up and the first thing he does is my first hand 5K straddle.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I don't think Brad will play the $1 million game, but if he did, that would be very cool.
You got anything else? I got one last question for Nicky Boy, and then that's it.
No, I'm good. I know we're out of time.
I just want to know, and I already know, but I want to know why you're so loyal to Hustler Casino Live, and why are we so great?
You know, I guess for me the loyalty thing is like, so it started with like I used to watch Live at the Bike and I was a fan.
Yeah.
Then I met Ryan in LA and like we became friends and like he gave me opportunities to play in games and like meet people that I wouldn't have met, and then like that escalated to like here playing on Hustler regularly. Like I've become like known in poker and like gotten a lot of opportunity from it, and like to me it's just like you dance with the ones who brought you. Like Nick and Ryan brought me to the show, kind of, I guess I would say, like not like the show in terms of Hustler, but like the show in terms of like being known and like getting opportunities. And like to me it's like you dance with the ones who brought you, like you stay loyal to them. And like I don't know, it's just how I am. I just feel like that's the right way to do things, and like that's why like, whenever I play other streams, which is not often, like I'm always gonna wear Hustler like shirt because that's where I'm from, and that's what I do. And like Hustler is going to be primarily where I play always, and like I'll do everything I can to promote the casino, the stream, and everything, just because once again, like I've gotten infinite value, like not necessarily like I'm not talking about specifically monetarily, but I'm saying like just value in a lot of different ways from the stream and from Nick and Ryan and like their generosity to me. So like I always like want to reciprocate that the best I can, and the best way I can do that like is by being loyal. And then in terms of like why I think Hustler's the best, fucking dude, the lineups, the players, like the action, right? Like Ryan is the Vince McMahon of poker.
You got
like,
it. He's the best.
He's the GOAT. Like when Ryan's dead, like people are gonna be like, that guy was the GOAT game runner.
Yeah.
Like the actual GOAT game runner of all time.
Well, name someone else.
There's no one. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not even close.
No, for sure.
And so like I said this like that's why when Ryan left the bike and you guys were talking like starting the stream, I tried to invest because I was like, it's guaranteed success.
We were playing a lot of home games before we launched.
Ryan's job is fucking brutal. It's
hard.
Like, I've organized games at Hustler on off stream, like our stream games a couple times on Saturdays. Like, you know this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who's playing? Oh, I'll let you know. Okay, next day. Who's playing now? Oh, I'll let you know. Like, it's just like it's so hard to wrangle people together and get lineups, and like not only is it hard to just get a game together, it's hard to get a fucking insane stream game together.
Yeah.
And he gets 5 of them a week. Like,
yeah, it's sick.
Pretty good.
It's definitely sick. All right, you got anything, Val?
No. I just have to say that, like, I've watched you in the public eye, and I've actually have. I'm not saying actually. Actually, it's not a good word here, but I have grown to really like you. I think you're young. You're gonna run into situations where you're gonna put your foot in your mouth again, and it's okay. And I like the approach you're taking. I like the character development. I think you are very likable. I think you are very entertaining. And I do really like you, and I appreciate, your reflection on everything that happened and your honesty. So
yeah,
I think like it, Nick.
I think for all of us at Hustler, like, and I think I speak maybe more for me and Nick in particular, because I think we have a similar situation. Like, we get ourselves in hot water quite often, but I think like I admire that Nick's able to apologize publicly when he thinks he's in the wrong and like own it, and like I respect that, and I try to do the same. And like I think in the scammer stuff, I was definitely in the wrong, and I'm just like happy to own that. And moving forward, like if and when I make future mistakes, like I'll do my best to own those too. But at the same time, like I'm pretty proud of like everything I've done, and I know like my intentions are good, and that's what matters to me.
I'm gonna buy you a shirt that says "Just add alcohol."
No, I don't drink.
I don't know. I have to say, I don't drink. Yeah,
that's right.
No, I think that's one of the, before we finish, I think that's one of the reasons why Nick and I get along. Like, I think that he's, as much as the public doesn't believe it, and they're like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this podcast with this guy? I'm like, he's a lot more open-minded than you think. Him and I have conversations where like we fucking disagree about everything. And then we can find a middle ground and discuss why we're disagreeing. And he's a lot more open-minded than you would think. And he's like reflecting on a lot of things. And we don't agree on fucking anything most of the time, but we still end up coming to some sort of conclusion where we can see each other's perspective. And like, he's actually a very nice person, and I find him to be very kind to a lot of people that I wouldn't even be kind to. I'm like, Nick, why are you extending an olive branch to this guy? He's terrible to you. And he's just like, no, man, it's just the way I do. And I didn't know he extended that olive branch to Berkey. So like, I just wanted to say that publicly, because I catch a lot of flack from people for doing this show with you, and I think they have a misconception of you, and like I did too for a while. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. That actually means a lot to me, especially coming from you. But it really.
Oh, don't fucking cry now.
No. I'm not going to cry. I hate you.
He's
what
crying.
Are you talking about?
He's crying.
No, but on the other side of the coin, like I've said before too, I think one of the reasons the show works is because we have a really good chemistry, but it's not an Instabro chemistry. It's a true but a respect for each other. So I'm glad that we are doing what we're doing. So there you go. There's our on the View moment. I could be Whoopi, or I could be Joan or Jay or whatever. So maybe we should start doing a show like The View, and we should tap into our energy. Okay. So anyway.
Center our chakras. Let's do that. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for tuning in. This is the Nik Vertucci Show. I am Nik Vertucci, and we have the great Nik Airball and straight out of Compton, Valerie Brill, Envy out.